On an ordinary evening, a conflict was occurring in a bathroom at Ningxing Entertainment Hotel. A disheveled beauty with messy makeup was tied up hands and feet, helplessly crouching in the bathtub. At this moment, he didn't care about his own disheveled state, only carefully pleading with the man opposite, "Brother Hao, please spare your little brother this time." But the man opposite wasn't softened by Fei Ren's pitiful appearance. Instead, he was interestedly examining Fei Ren's attire. Fu Xiaoshui smiled as he looked at the disheveled Fei Ren. He never knew his good brother had a habit of cross-dressing. Though the outfit was beautiful, it was truly an eyesore. He didn't like it. While making small talk, Fu Xiaoshui stripped away all of Fei Yuan's attire. Fei Yuan looked at the smiling Fu Xiaoshui and swallowed. He knew that Fu Xiaoshui at this moment was someone who couldn't be defied. Therefore, no matter how roughly Fu Xiaoshui treated him, Fei Yuan only spoke softly, hoping his second brother would have a conscience and let him go. But Fu Xiaoshui completely ignored Fei Yuan's submission. Instead, he sat down and openly brought up old accounts. He still remembered when he first entered the room, Fei Yuan directly called out Vice President. How many vice presidents could there be in Ningxing? Fei Yuan nervously explained he was calling for Fu Lingfeng, and this time he came back just to borrow some money. Fu Xiaoshui watched as Fei Yuan was still quibbling, grabbed him, and forcefully pressed him against the wall. Wouldn't it be better to borrow from second brother? Second brother wouldn't even make you repay. Fu Xiaoshui pressed against Fei Yuan while moving closer, speaking the coldest words in an ambiguous tone. "A Yuan, you still owe second brother a game. Play as you like. You haven't forgotten after hiding for 3 years, have you?" Fei Yuan was shocked that Fu Xiaoshui suddenly brought this up. If he wasn't really in need of money, he would never have set foot in Ningxing again. Yet he was so unlucky to be discovered right away. Fei Yuan, afraid of further angering Fu Xiaoshui, which would only make himself suffer, pretended to be docile and spoke sweetly, trying to persuade Fu Xiaoshui to release him. Their pushing and pulling was truly unsightly. Fu Xiaoshui didn't release him as Fei Yuan had hoped. Instead, he became increasingly presumptuous. While speaking frivolous words of love, he caressed Fei Yuan's body, as if checking whether Fei Yuan had changed during his 3 years of absence. "A Yuan, you've grown up. Shouldn't we settle the account between us?" Fu Xiaoshui, as if going mad, suddenly pulled Fei Yuan into his embrace. Fei Yuan couldn't maintain his weak act anymore and struggled violently. Fu Xiaoshui, seeing the person in his arms being so unruly, also became angry. He knocked Fei Yuan unconscious with a chop. As Fei Yuan fainted, the conflict between them came to a pause. Fu Xiaoshui looked at the person in his arms, silently vowing that today he definitely wouldn't let him escape again. At this moment, the bathroom door suddenly opened, and it was Fu Lingfeng who burst in with his female companion. It turned out Fu Lingfeng had originally planned to find a room with his companion to rest and perhaps exchange some feelings, so they randomly chose a room in the hotel. But as soon as they entered, they heard sounds from the bathroom. Opening the door, they found his second brother holding someone, sitting disheveled in the bathtub. Fu Lingfeng's intrusion greatly displeased Fu Xiaoshui. He turned his head and used his eyes to urge them to leave quickly. Fu Xiaoshui's female companion, who had never seen such a scene, was so frightened by his gaze that she screamed. Fu Lingfeng had now come to his senses and quickly sent his female companion out of the room. Turning back and coming closer, he discovered that the person lying in his second brother's arms was actually Fei Yuan. Fu Lingfeng had no time to carefully inquire why Fei Yuan was here. He hurriedly told his second brother to leave with Fei Yuan quickly, or else if they ran into Big Brother, it wouldn't be so easy to explain. After all, Big Brother had said if he saw Fei Yuan again, he would definitely break his legs. Fu Xiaoshui unhurriedly stood up, directing Fu Lingfeng to wrap Fei Yuan in a blanket. When Fei Yuan woke up again, he was in a car. He carefully asked who was in front and what their purpose was. The person in front coldly dropped one sentence and refused to answer further. Fei Yuan immediately recognized Fu Lingfeng's voice, excitedly recounting how Fu Xiaoshui had nearly scared him to death and reproaching Fu Lingfeng for not finding him earlier. Hearing Fei Yuan's complaints, Even someone with the best temper would get angry. Fu Lingfeng sarcastically asked him, wasn't he planning to leave? Why come back after running away for 3 years? Coming back was one thing, but falling in his second brother's hands, wasn't that asking for trouble? But Fu Lingfeng still valued their brotherhood. After scolding Fei Yuan and calming down, he asked why he had returned to Ningxing. Seeing the other person had calmed down, Fei Yuan spoke about needing to borrow money. Though Fu Lingfeng complained that Fei Yuan treated him like a poverty relief office, he still agreed. By now, they had arrived at the dock. Fu Lingfeng urged Fei Yuan to run quickly. If his big brother caught him, that would be real trouble. Big brother Fu had probably already received news and was coming to intercept. While speaking, Fu Lingfeng took out clothes and urged Fei Yuan to change. During their dawdling, the roar of car engines came from afar. Big brother had arrived. Fei Yuan had no time to change clothes and ran towards the boat. But even so, they were surrounded by cars. Was this the end? Fei Yuan thought desperately. As the car doors slowly opened, the person inside revealed themselves. It was actually Fei Yuan's old enemy. Seeing the once mighty young master Fei in such a sorry state, they couldn't help but laugh loudly. But like a tiger fallen to the plains being bullied by dogs, Fei Yuan had neither the energy nor means to fight back. Suddenly, someone embraced Fei Yuan from behind. It was Fu Zhaoshui. Fu Zhaoshui stared expressionlessly at Fei Yuan, warning him that if he dared to run away again, he would make him understand true terror. Then he carried Fei Yuan home like that. Fei Yuan had already prepared himself to be held accountable. He simply gave up, ready to accept whatever punishment came. Looking at the resigned Fei Yuan, Fu Zhaoshui didn't say anything harsh, but instead told him to go remove his makeup and wash up. He crouched in front of Fei Yuan, carefully untying the ropes binding his hands, showing genuine care in his gentle movements. In a daze, they seemed to return to 3 years ago. Fei Yuan couldn't help but cry out in pain. Fu Zhaoshui looked at him for a while, then turned to get a knife to cut the ropes directly. Seeing Fu Zhaoshui's softened attitude, Fei Yuan couldn't help but ask to borrow money. He really needed that 500,000 to save his son Xiaobu's life. Upon hearing this, Fu Zhaoshui's face immediately darkened. Fei Yuan keenly sensed his anger. After cutting the ropes, Fu Zhaoshui grabbed a wet wipe and roughly wiped the makeup off Fei Yuan's face. While Fei Yuan was still trying for the 500,000, Fu Zhaoshui finally couldn't hold back. He couldn't understand why Fei Yuan had become so degraded, begging everywhere for 500,000. Hearing his questioning, Fei Yuan suddenly felt some resentment. He wanted to stand up and tell Fu Zhaoshui it wasn't like that, but a sudden dizziness interrupted him. Under this dizziness, he unwillingly closed his eyes and fainted. Seeing Fei Yuan suddenly collapse, Fu Zhaoshui panicked and called out his name loudly. Fei Yuan dreamed of that scene again. In the darkness, Fu Zhaoshui lay covered in blood on the ground. Fei Yuan just watched helplessly, then suddenly turned and ran away. As young Fei Yuan left, the dream suddenly ended. Fei Yuan, frightened by the dream, suddenly sat up in bed. The pain in his body brought him back to reality. He was in the hospital. As Fei Yuan observed his surroundings, Fu Zhaoshui entered with breakfast. Fish porridge and shrimp dumplings, all Fei Yuan's favorites. Fei Yuan directed Fu Zhaoshui to put the breakfast on the table. Fu Zhaoshui watched Fei Yuan's unconscious coquettish behavior without comment, placing the breakfast on the table and watching him eat. Then he said he needed to apply medicine to Fei Yuan. Fei Yuan didn't dare let Fu Zhaoshui personally apply medicine. But Fu Zhaoshui had already firmly grabbed his foot. He held Fei Yuan's foot as if it were precious. He gently applied the medicine, afraid of causing pain, and even blew softly on the wounds after applying it. Fei Yuan was so startled he knocked over his bowl. He frantically apologized to Fu Zhaoshui, but instead of blame, he received comfort. Our Yuan has broken more valuable things than this. It's just a bowl. How could second brother blame you? He said while hand-feeding him a shrimp dumpling. Chewing the dumpling, Fei Yuan recalled how second brother used to pamper him like this. But everything had changed. Coming to his senses, Fei Yuan smiled coyly, saying he shouldn't have been so ungrateful about the lunch second brother brought. He didn't need second brother to punish him. He deserved to be disciplined. Then he started slapping himself repeatedly. Watching Fei Yuan speak self-deprecatingly and act so submissively, Fu Zhaoshui finally couldn't bear it and stopped him from hurting himself further. By now, Fei Yuan's face was swollen red, but he still wore a smile. He knew he had won the gamble. Fu Xiaoshui wouldn't stay to watch him act so degradingly. Sure enough, after glaring at Fei Yuan, Fu Xiaoshui left angrily. Fei Yuan didn't want to hurt Fu Xiaoshui, but he had his reasons. He had to gather this money quickly. Fei Yuan slowly walked out of the hospital room. There were no guards from Fu Xiaoshui in the hallway. He walked to the public phone, hesitated for a moment, then put it down. Back when Fei Yuan lived lavishly, everyone was eager to flatter him. But now who would care about him? Everyone probably just wanted to laugh at him. Fei Yuan walked out of the hospital alone, feeling somewhat regretful. He should have eaten properly earlier. Second brother's shrimp dumplings were still as sweet as before. While Fei Yuan was lost in thought, someone suddenly grabbed him from behind. It was Su Xiao, Fei Yuan's childhood friend. Such bad luck. How did all the people he didn't want to see manage to find him in succession? Before Fei Yuan could react, Su Xiao had already half-dragged him to his car. After all, he needed to settle accounts with Fei Yuan about his good brother's debt. Being childhood friends for so many years, Su Xiao didn't want to make things difficult for Fei Yuan. He promised that if he handed over Fei Kuan, they would be even. After all, Fei Kuan's debt with interest had reached over 100 million. As the guarantor, Fei Yuan couldn't shirk responsibility. But Fei Kuan had long since disappeared. Dead ends everywhere. Fei Yuan couldn't see any way out. As they spoke, they arrived at Chu Xiao's house. This was the first time Fei Yuan had sat down to talk with Chu Xiao since his escape. Now Fei Yuan was no longer like the young master from 3 years ago. His whole demeanor was cautious. Chu Xiao immediately noticed the wounds on Fei Yuan's hands and demanded to know how they happened, asking if he had seen Fu Xiaoshui since returning. Fei Yuan answered nervously, but unexpectedly, Chu Xiao immediately pushed him away. He shouted at Fei Yuan in frustration. Have you forgotten how he ruined your family and life? Do you have to die by his hands before you'll stop? Chu Xiao didn't wait for Fei Yuan's rebuttal. Looking back, he found Fei Yuan sitting on the ground, trembling. He quickly ran over to check on him. After discovering it was just low blood sugar, he irritably threw his clothes to Fei Yuan and went to the kitchen to prepare food. Wrapped in Chu Xiao's clothes, Fei Yuan thought about escaping quickly. Passing through the entrance, he saw a childhood photo of them together. Fei Yuan looked nostalgically at his godmother in the photo. At that moment, Chu Xiao returned with a simple meal. Fei Yuan ate hurriedly while Chu Xiao rambled on. He talked about how a person's character shows early, saying he always knew Fei Kuan was no good, mocking how Fei Yuan was not only tricked by Fei Kuan as a child, but got severely deceived by him as an adult. With his personality, he'd eventually be conned to death. He asked Fei Yuan why he returned exactly when the Fu family was at its peak. Fu Wingshan had announced he would catch him, dead or alive. Even Fu Xiaoshui knew and allowed Fu Wingshan to do this. Fei Yuan interrupted Chu Xiao, saying his return had nothing to do with them. He purely came to borrow money for his son's medical treatment. Hearing this, Chu Xiao lost his composure, repeatedly asking if it was Fei Yuan's biological child. Fei Yuan scratched his head and said yes, it was his own son. After all, he had raised the child himself, so there was no difference from a biological child. Chu Xiao was still marveling that Fei Yuan had a child in these years they hadn't met. Suddenly, Fei Yuan fell to his knees before Chu Xiao and gave a solemn bow. He said Chu Xiao was the one he had wronged most over these years, deceiving him about his brother. The monetary and emotional debts could never be repaid, but he hoped that considering their years of friendship, Chu Xiao would lend him 500,000 yuan one last time. He would accept any hardship for the rest of his life to repay it. Chu Xiao painfully helped Fei Yuan up. He couldn't imagine what Fei Yuan had been through these years. But Chu Xiao agreed to lend Fei Yuan the money, provided he agreed to one condition. A dark, windy, rainy night was perfect for escape. After leaving Chu Xiao's house, Fei Yuan headed straight to Ning City train station. Unable to take planes or high-speed rail, he could only take regular trains. Although Chu Xiao helped divert some people, the station was still full of Fu family's bodyguards searching. Soon Fei Yuan was discovered. He ran away in panic. He accidentally bumped into someone. Looking up, it was Fu Xiaoshui. Fu Xiaoshui pulled Fei Yuan into the emergency exit. They dodged and hid along the way. Finally passing through the ticket check into the train car, Fei Yuan immediately felt cold. Fu Xiaoshui embraced him, warming him with his body heat. In Fu Xiaoshui's embrace, Fei Yuan thought of the past. Fu Xiaoshui's embrace had always been so warm, making one unable to resist its comfort. As Fei Yuan was indulging in Fu Zhaoshui's embrace, he heard Fu Zhaoshui say coldly, "Remember what second brother said about how I would punish you if you tried to escape?" Fei Yuan was so frightened he immediately pushed Fu Zhaoshui away. But the wound on his wrist still caused him great pain. Fu Zhaoshui quickly came forward to check Fei Yuan's injury, asked if it hurt badly, and if he needed a doctor. Fei Yuan broke free from Fu Zhaoshui's restraint, casually saying that as a grown man, such a small injury was nothing. Fu Zhaoshui looked at the person opposite him and sighed, Yuan, you don't need to act strong in front of me." Just then, a train attendant came to check tickets. They only had standing tickets, and being in the sleeper car was against regulations. Fei Yuan bowed repeatedly while apologizing, saying he was just visiting a friend and would leave immediately. Fu Zhaoshui, seeing Fei Yuan's submissive behavior, said, "Enough, stand up straight. I'll go pay for the upgrade. You'd better stay here. Don't go anywhere," he said before leaving with a gloomy aura. Fu Zhaoshui pressed Fei Yuan against the wall, telling him there was no need to be so subservient to those people. But what Fu Zhaoshui considered trivial submission, Fei Yuan had experienced countless times over the past 3 years. In fact, compared to the troubles he usually faced, this was nothing. Fei Yuan looked up into Fu Zhaoshui's eyes and slowly said, "I'm a fugitive drowning in debt. I have no right to put on airs in front of honest people with proper jobs. Besides, just as you said, I'm just someone shameless enough to grovel and beg for 500,000 yuan. What right do I have to act dignified?" Fu Zhaoshui interrupted Fei Yuan's self-deprecation, angrily asking when he learned to use words to hurt people. Then he took off his coat, handed it to Fei Yuan, telling him to change out of his wet clothes before leaving. Seeing a chance to leave, Fei Yuan hastily said he didn't need to change clothes. "Second brother, rest well. I'll leave now." Fu Zhaoshui watched Fei Yuan's retreating figure and fell into deep thought. Fei Yuan ran to the bathroom, turned on the faucet, and washed his face. In over 20 years, he hadn't made any name for himself. Instead, his life was a complete mess. If he hadn't met Fu Zhaoshui, how would Fei Yuan have spent his life? He probably would have spent money freely, married, had children, lived without worries, and died contentedly surrounded by grandchildren. But now that was impossible. Such a life had become merely a longing for Fei Yuan. Fei Yuan walked to the train connection area and slowly crouched against the wall. He suddenly remembered Fu Zhaoshui once told him that despair was a sin. How ironic. The very person who brought him the most despair had taught him this. Fei Yuan smiled bitterly and prepared to stand up. But the long journey had taken its toll on his already weak body. He lost his balance and was about to fall when, fortunately, a kind-hearted man caught him from behind. Seeing Fei Yuan's poor condition, the man's wife invited him to sit in their seats. She thoughtfully offered him some food, during which Fei Yuan kept expressing his gratitude. When he saw the man giving his wife a hairpin, he couldn't help but think of his godmother. After his mother's death, she was the only person who truly cared for and loved him. Yet such a good person met a tragic end because of him. He had failed his godmother. In the early morning, the woman suddenly felt abdominal pain. She was going into labor, but the entire train was dirty, chaotic, and noisy. Even if there was a doctor, the environment couldn't support a normal delivery. Fei Yuan was terrified by the scene before him. He remembered when his mother gave birth to Fei Kuan, she also lost so much blood and had a difficult delivery. Fei Yuan didn't want the people who had helped him to face danger, so he decided to find them a safe and clean place. Fei Yuan led them to knock on Fu Zhaoshui's door. He quickly explained the situation. After listening, Fu Zhaoshui understandingly gave up his room. Fei Yuan and Fu Zhaoshui stood in the corridor, with Fei Yuan fidgeting with his clothes, apologizing to Fu Zhaoshui with deep remorse. Disturbing his rest so late at night, Fu Zhaoshui remained silent. He noticed bloodstains on Fei Yuan's hands and took him to the bathroom to wash them. Fei Yuan felt Fu Zhaoshui's calloused hands. It was these hands that first caught his attention back then. It was 8 years ago, their first meeting. Fei Yuan accompanied Fu Lingfeng to pick up second brother from training at the station. Their first meeting wasn't particularly memorable or dramatic, just a simple handshake. But from then on, Fei Yuan felt differently about Fu Zhaoshui. His thoughts were interrupted by Fu Zhaoshui's words as he leaned close to Fei Yuan's ear. He asked how come he wasn't afraid of blood anymore, casually holding Fei Yuan's hands while speaking sweet words. Fei Yuan suddenly pushed him away, pleading, "Second Master Fu, please give me a way out." Fu Zhaoshui was stunned by the sudden push. and hearing Fei Yuan address him this way made his anger flare up even more. Fei Yuan could call him anything else, but never Second Master Fu. Fei Yuan continued pleading, saying it was his fault for foolishly getting involved with Second Master Fu when he was young. But the Fei family had already paid with everything they had. Even his father had died to atone for it. Wasn't that enough? Fu Xiaoshui, what more would it take for you to let him go? Silence spread between them. Fu Xiaoshui stepped forward and lifted Fei Yuan's chin. He stated coldly that Fei Yuan should remember he was his only way out. Seeing Fu Xiaoshui's domineering attitude, Fei Yuan broke down even more. Tears flowing, he asked why it had to be him. Fu Xiaoshui had so many enemies. Why couldn't it be someone else? Because they're not you, Fu Xiaoshui said slowly, gazing into Fei Yuan's eyes. He had given Fei Yuan one chance to escape, but he came back. From now on, even in death, their ashes would be mixed together, never to part. With that, Fu Xiaoshui kissed Fei Yuan forcefully. Fei Yuan struggled painfully, but couldn't break free. Unable to hurt Fu Xiaoshui, he could only bite his own tongue hard. When Fu Xiaoshui tasted blood, he abruptly released Fei Yuan, angrily saying his talent for causing trouble was remarkable. The atmosphere between them was tense. Fu Xiaoshui punched the train compartment wall next to Fei Yuan. Then he gave Fei Yuan one last deep look before leaving. Fei Yuan remained alone in agony. He had promised to cancel everything, to leave Ning City forever and never entangle with Fu Xiaoshui again. Even without canceling, Fei Yuan would never have any relationship with Fu Xiaoshui again. After some time, a baby's cry pierced the night. The couple's child had been safely born. Fei Yuan quickly left the bathroom and saw the man from earlier thanking Fu Xiaoshui in the corridor. Seeing Fei Yuan, the man pulled him next to Fu Xiaoshui, expressing his gratitude to both of them. Without their help, he didn't know what would have happened to his wife. They awkwardly accepted his thanks. Fei Yuan hadn't felt such pure kindness in a long time and felt somewhat happy. The compartment door opened, and the midwife came out with the baby wrapped in Fu Xiaoshui's coat. Fei Yuan noticed that Fu Xiaoshui's spare clothes were now all carelessly stuffed in a plastic bag. The man, concerned about his child, quickly bid them farewell, promising to compensate them for their losses at original price once he had settled his wife and child, then hurriedly left for the ambulance. Fei Yuan looked at the petrified Fu Xiaoshui, feeling somewhat sorry, knowing he could never afford to replace Fu Xiaoshui's expensive clothes. Just then, an attendant came by to thank them for selflessly offering their room to help others. If they didn't mind, they could wear these clothes for now. After Fei Yuan took the clothes, Fu Xiaoshui pulled him off the train. With Fu Lingshan's people all on the train, getting off now was the safest option. After Fu Xiaoshui got dressed, he pulled Fei Yuan into his embrace. Fearing discovery by pursuers, Fei Yuan didn't resist Fu Xiaoshui's embrace. He greedily inhaled Fu Xiaoshui's scent, which gave him an unparalleled sense of security. They quickly left the station. Sure enough, Big Brother's pursuers were everywhere. Watching Fu Xiaoshui help him dodge the pursuers' checks time after time, Fei Yuan couldn't help but praise his capability. He wanted to plant an entire orange grove for him right away. But Fu Xiaoshui didn't understand Fei Yuan's joke, only saying he didn't like oranges. Fei Yuan couldn't understand how someone under 30 could live so humorlessly. Fu Xiaoshui noticed his disdain and changed his tone, saying, "I love eating Yuan. Plant more Yuans for me instead." Seeing Fu Xiaoshui say such flirtatious words with a serious face, Fei Yuan blushed, cursed him as a rogue, and fell silent. The two stood on the street with nowhere to go, and to make matters worse, it started snowing heavily. Fei Yuan looked at second brother standing beside him, thinking he couldn't burden him anymore, and prepared to tell him to return to Ning City. Fu Xiaoshui ignored Fei Yuan and instead mentioned his arm was hurting. Fu Xiaoshui's arm had suffered several serious injuries, and it was already a miracle it could still move. It absolutely couldn't get cold. Hearing this, Fei Yuan was alarmed and immediately hugged Fu Xiaoshui's arm. He covered and rubbed it to keep it warm. Then he pulled Fu Xiaoshui along searching for hotels. But contrary to their wishes, after walking for a long time, all hotels were full due to spring festival travel. With no choice, they had to find a small roadside inn. As expected, the front desk immediately demanded a high price. Only one king-size room left, 500 per night. Take it or leave it. After confirming there was hot water, Fei Yuan grudgingly decided to stay. After entering the room, Fei Yuan immediately pushed Fu Xiaoshui into the bathroom to wash up. Fu Xiaoshui said the clothes clothes were too small to take off, so Fei Yuan helped him undress. During this, Fei Yuan slipped, and they fell together. Fu Xiaoshui supported himself with both hands to prevent them both from falling. Fei Yuan, red-faced, pushed Fu Xiaoshui away to leave, but Fu Xiaoshui lay in the bathtub, whining about his arm hurting. Fei Yuan couldn't bear it and had to return, resignedly using a hot towel to carefully wipe Fu Xiaoshui's arm. After much effort, they finally finished bathing. Fei Yuan wrapped Fu Xiaoshui tightly in the blanket. Afraid he might get cold, when second brother said he was still a bit cold, Fei Yuan immediately got up to get another blanket. Fu Xiaoshui persuaded him to rest quickly. After all, they'd been traveling all day. Fei Yuan hadn't planned to stay overnight. He only wanted to settle Fu Xiaoshui first, then catch a long-distance bus to leave this troubled place. Fu Xiaoshui didn't force Fei Yuan to stay, only asking him to tell the front desk to check on him when he left, lest he die from pain in bed at midnight with no one knowing. Hearing Fu Xiaoshui say this, Fei Yuan immediately felt heartache and decided to stay until dawn. After washing up, Fei Yuan hesitated about where to rest, as there was only one bed. Fu Xiaoshui moved aside, saying he didn't mind, they could squeeze together. So Fei Yuan got into bed, curling up in the corner to rest quietly. In the middle of the night, Fu Xiaoshui suddenly turned around to embrace Fei Yuan. Before Yuan could struggle, Fu Xiaoshui murmured, 3 years, 5 months, and 12 days. I thought I'd never see you return. Yuan, how could you be so cruel? Fei Yuan curled up in Fu Xiaoshui's embrace, listening to his painful whispers beside his ear, momentarily forgetting all thoughts of leaving. But as a sinner like himself, did he really deserve happiness? That night, Fei Yuan indulged himself, sinking into Fu Xiaoshui's warm embrace, believing that if he pretended to be asleep without being discovered, he could stay a little longer. Chaotic dreams enveloped Fei Yuan into deeper nightmares. One moment was his first meeting with Fu Xiaoshui. Another was the scene of the Fei family mansion on fire. Then it changed to that car accident, with Fu Xiaoshui lying injured on the road. Fei Yuan struggled to break free from the dream, but turned to find Fu Xiaoshui gone. Just then, someone knocked on the door. It was Fu Lingfeng. How did he find this place? Fei Yuan opened the door, and Fu Lingfeng walked in carrying a large bag. Seeing no sign of second brother in the room, he was surprised. Second brother had called him here himself, but now he was nowhere to be seen. Fu Lingfeng said to Fei Yuan, "Weren't you here to borrow money? How did you end up taking my second brother away? Here's 500,000. Give my second brother back." Before Fei Yuan could respond, Fu Xiaoshui's voice suddenly came from the bathroom. "Is second brother only worth 500,000 to you?" Hearing second brother was still there, Fu Lingfeng immediately became more respectful. Fei Yuan opened the package Fu Lingfeng brought, finding it full of clothes, and casually started putting some on. While dressing, he noticed the underwear was too big and wondered if Fu Lingfeng brought the wrong clothes. Fu Lingfeng explained these were second brother's clothes. Having already put them halfway on, Fei Yuan felt too embarrassed to take them off and had to continue wearing them. At this time, Fu Xiaoshui also came out of the bathroom. While Fu Xiaoshui was changing clothes, Fu Lingfeng finally noticed that Fei Yuan's way of addressing Fu Xiaoshui had changed. So he pulled Fei Yuan aside to ask why he suddenly started calling second brother second master. Before Fei Yuan could answer, second brother called Fu Lingfeng over to help find clothes for Fei Yuan. Fu Lingfeng reluctantly searched through the clothes. He had thought second brother was taking him on a trip. After changing clothes, Fei Yuan prepared to bid them farewell. He had borrowed the money, and staying longer would only burden them both. Fu Lingfeng brought up the worst possible topic, directly asking who would dare lend him money. Fei Yuan awkwardly said it was Fu Lingfeng's fiancée who lent it to him. Fu Lingfeng immediately denied having a fiancée, but then suddenly remembered there might have been someone. Though that was just a misunderstanding, Fei Yuan didn't care about that. With a mischievous smile, he helped Fu Lingfeng remember, saying how Fu Lingfeng had sealed their relationship with a kiss and insisted on marrying her. It was 15 years ago when Fei Yuan was playing with some children. 10-year-old Fu Lingfeng saw her and stopped in his tracks, thinking how beautiful this girl was. So he ran up and kissed her, promising to marry her when they grew up. So many years had passed, and they hadn't seen each other in a long time. Fu Lingfeng felt somewhat nostalgic for that cute child from back then. Fu Xiaoshui asked curiously who Fu Lingfeng's fiancée was, saying he didn't know about this. But Fu Lingfeng clearly didn't want to say more, only sighing that it was all in the past and shouldn't be mentioned again. Fu Xiaoshui didn't press further, just telling Fu Lingfeng to help Fei Yuan repay the money, and he would reimburse him later. Fei Yuan immediately refused, saying he could repay the money himself, and second master shouldn't worry. Fu Xiaoshui ignored him and turned to ask Fu Lingfeng if he brought the SUV. Fei Yuan needed to hurry back for his son's surgery. Fu Lingfeng thought Fu Xiaoshui was crazy to drive in such heavy snow. It was too dangerous. Were they trying to get themselves killed? But clearly no one listened to his objections. Second brother didn't care about his brother's well-being, using him and discarding him, making him take a taxi home in such heavy snow. But Fu Lingfeng didn't dare throw a tantrum in front of second brother. While Fu Xiaoshui was checking the car, Fei Yuan hugged Fu Lingfeng, grinning as he thanked him for helping repay the money and wished him luck rekindling his old romance. The two played around in the snow, everything feeling like old times again. The weight that had been pressing on Fei Yuan seemed to lift a little. They played freely in the snow until Fu Xiaoshui pulled Fei Yuan up and brushed the snow off him. Fei Yuan knew it was time to go, so he told Fu Lingfeng to take care and said they'd meet again if fate allowed. Watching the car disappear, Fu Lingfeng wondered why his handsome second brother had to be so fixated on Fei Yuan. Walking alone on the street, Fu Lingfeng saw a red SUV approaching and thought the driver must be a sexy woman. But when the window rolled down, he found Chu Xiao inside. Fu Lingfeng looked at the person in the car speechlessly, thinking what a small world it was. 7 years ago, Fu Lingfeng visited the Fei family and saw the grown-up Chu Xiao. Fu Lingfeng didn't recognize that this was the pretty girl from his childhood until Fei Yuan teased him about it. Only then did he realize the pretty girl he'd been thinking about all those years was actually a boy. Seeing Fu Lingfeng's attitude, Chu Xiao sensitively wondered if this brother disliked him. Several more years passed, and as they grew up, Fei Yuan kept teasing about the fiancé joke. Every time Fu Lingfeng heard it, he would forcefully stop him and threaten not to tell others. Chu Xiao watched their playful fights, lost in thought. Back to the present, Chu Xiao saw Fu Lingfeng walking alone and invited him into the car. Guessing he had been left behind, Chu Xiao offered to drive him home. Though Fu Lingfeng felt awkward, he had no better solution. At the highway rest stop, Fu Xiaoshui bought some snacks and drinks. He handed them to Fei Yuan in the car. Concerned about Fei Yuan's long journey, he told him to lie down and sleep in the back seat. Lying in the back seat, Fei Yuan was exhausted but couldn't fall asleep. He watched Fu Xiaoshui driving. He thought silently. After hiding for 3 years and going in circles, he had returned to where he started. Was his fate destined to be entangled with Fu Xiaoshui's? When Fei Yuan opened his eyes again, it was already bright daylight. He looked worriedly at Fu Xiaoshui. He asked if Fu Xiaoshui needed him to take over driving. After all, Fu Xiaoshui had been driving all night without rest. Even someone made of iron would be tired. There happened to be a farmhouse restaurant ahead, so Fei Yuan suggested stopping there to eat and rest. After arriving, Fei Yuan ordered some dishes and got a room upstairs. He planned to let Fu Xiaoshui rest upstairs after eating. Just as they sat down to eat, Fei Yuan instinctively started to pour water for Fu Xiaoshui. Seeing this, the restaurant owner's wife smiled and commented on how close the brothers were. Only then did Fei Yuan come to his senses. Perhaps it was a habit formed over many years that made him unconsciously want to take care of Fu Xiaoshui. Fei Yuan put down the teapot, pretending nothing had happened. Fu Xiaoshui suddenly moved his chair closer to Fei Yuan. He just stared without doing anything. Fei Yuan's heart raced under his gaze until he finally surrendered, picking up the kettle to respectfully pour second master Fu a cup of water. After eating, they returned to the room. Fu Xiaoshui invited Fei Yuan to rest on the bed too. Fei Yuan smiled ingratiatingly and said no, he needed to take care of his clothes. Seeing Fei Yuan's persistent refusal, Fu Xiaoshui stepped forward, lifted him up, threw him onto the bed, and pressed down on top of him. Fei Yuan was startled by Fu Xiaoshui's sudden move and began struggling violently. After subduing the person beneath him, Fu Xiaoshui fiercely whispered in Fei Yuan's ear, "You can scream louder. Better yet, attract everyone here to see what we're doing." Fei Yuan, unwilling to let others see him in such a sorry state, gradually quieted down. When Fu Xiaoshui suddenly raised his hand, Fei Yuan thought he was going to hit him in anger. He immediately shrank his neck and trembled, a protective posture to shield vital areas from potential blows. Seeing the trembling person in his arms, Fu Xiaoshui frowned with heartache, wondering what experiences had turned that once proud young master into someone who lived in such constant fear. Fu Xiaoshui lost his desire to frighten Fei Yuan. He just kissed his forehead, held him close, and said, "Sleep. No one will disturb you." Fei Yuan fell asleep in Fu Xiaoshui's warm embrace. When he woke up, they were still holding each other tightly. Fei Yuan quietly tried to move his hand and get up from the bed, but Fu Xiaoshui pulled him back into his arms, asking where he was trying to escape to. Without waiting for an answer, he leaned down and kissed him, an intimate atmosphere surrounding them. In that moment, they were the only ones in the world. Suddenly, Fu Xiaoshui noticed a shadow outside the window, and at that moment, someone knocked on the door. Fu Xiaoshui hid Fei Yuan behind him and saw the unexpected visitor was the innkeeper's wife. Without small talk, she asked if they were in a hurry, mentioning there had been an accident on the highway ahead. Fu Xiaoshui quickly put on clothes to open the door and asked for details. When he returned, he saw an alluring sight. Fei Yuan was drowsy, his small face flushed, the wide collar of his sweatshirt revealing a glimpse of snow-white shoulder as he sat on the bed with eyes half closed. Fu Xiaoshui cursed under his breath at the bewitching sight and went to fix Fei Yuan's collar, his movements somewhat rough. Fei Yuan glanced at him sideways, not knowing what he'd done wrong this time, and jumped off the bed to avoid his hands. He put on his down jacket to keep his distance. Fu Xiaoshui rubbed his forehead and pulled up the hood of his down jacket. Taking his hand, he walked towards the door saying, "We don't know the road conditions. We need to check." Fei Yuan didn't want to be held like this and tried to secretly pull his hand away. Fu Xiaoshui gripped his fingers and put them in his pocket. Fei Yuan stumbled a step and obediently stayed close to Fu Xiaoshui's side. As they walked, they left two parallel trails of footprints in the snow. The accident on the highway was serious, a chain collision with heavy casualties. The road wouldn't be passable today. Fu Xiaoshui got out to ask about the situation. The accident had happened while they were stopping for food. He glanced at Fei Yuan in the car, thinking if Fei Yuan hadn't asked him to rest, their car might have been among those wrecked vehicles. This thought stirred something in Fu Xiaoshui. Back in the car, Fei Yuan asked about the situation. Fu Xiaoshui cupped his face and gave him a deep kiss. Fei Yuan was left breathless, not understanding what had gotten into Fu Xiaoshui. Fu Xiaoshui hugged Fei Yuan, saying fearfully that if it weren't for him, they might have been in danger today. After hearing this, Fei Yuan was also terrified. They finally decided to return to the farmhouse for another night. The snowy day was gloomy. At 5 to 6 o'clock, it grew dark. Fei Yuan borrowed Fu Xiaoshui's phone and squatted outside to call about his child's condition. Fu Xiaoshui stood nearby, hearing Fei Yuan repeatedly saying, "Baby, don't be afraid. Daddy will be back soon." A girl's voice on the phone shouted that it wasn't working. The hospital wouldn't extend the stay. She needed at least 10,000, or she'd have to take Xiaobu and give up the hospital bed. Fei Yuan was anxiously fretting. He had the card in his pocket but couldn't give it to them. He hated that he couldn't sprout wings and fly back. "Give me the phone. I'll handle it." Fei Yuan stared blankly. Fu Xiaoshui took the phone from his hand, asked about the situation, then made 2 more calls. After waiting for the woman's response, the matter was resolved. Fei Yuan sighed in relief, tiredly thanking Jin Yuan and asking her to look after Xiaobu a while longer. After hanging up, Fu Xiaoshui pulled him into his arms, tightening his hold, and said softly, "I always thought you were still a child. Didn't expect you'd be such a proper father." Fei Yuan froze, then said sarcastically, "I'm not a child anymore. I've done what needed to be done. You know that." Fei Yuan pulled away, his red eyes glancing at him once. He felt awful. Taking it out on Fu Xiaoshui wasn't right. Fei Yuan rubbed his frozen nose tip and said softly, "I was talking nonsense." Fu Xiaoshui didn't respond to the apology. Their relationship was complicated, a mess, unclear who was right or wrong. Fei Yuan's tense body relaxed as he thanked Fu Xiaoshui, saying he really didn't know what to do. "Repay with yourself." Fu Xiaoshui knew this wasn't a smart answer, but he couldn't suppress the beast in his heart. He wanted to devour Fei Yuan. Fei Yuan's face turned pale. After freezing for a moment, he whispered, "Can we wait until we get back?" Fu Xiaoshui opened the door. "What if I say no?" Fei Yuan's face was ashen, seemingly shocked that Fu Xiaoshui would say such things. But after a moment's hesitation, he forced himself to walk through the door Fu Xiaoshui had opened. They sat side by side on the bed, quietly listening to the crackling of the stove. Near New Year's, the countryside homes were cleaned early, everything neat and tidy. The window facing the bed had red paper pasted on it with the characters for Happy Household. Fei Yuan stared at the red happiness character, thinking of wedding red characters. He had once hoped so much to become Fu Zhaoshui's legal partner properly. Fu Zhaoshui stroked his hair, got up to close the curtains. Fei Yuan tensed up, his hands gripping the fabric at his knees. Watching Fu Zhaoshui approach, his hands cold with nervousness, he asked, "Second Master, can we turn off the lights?" Fu Zhaoshui refused, firmly saying, "I want to see you." Fei Yuan swallowed, lowered his eyes, and nodded. He knew he couldn't escape, steeling himself. He stood up, actively kissing Fu Zhaoshui's lips, then gradually crouched down, fiercely trying to pull off his pants. They didn't look like lovers at all, more like enemies. Seeing what Fei Yuan was about to do, Fu Zhaoshui finally threw him onto the bed. Fei Yuan knew Fu Zhaoshui wouldn't force him, so this debt between them was now settled. They were even. Fu Zhaoshui, seeing Fei Yuan's smug look, punched the pillow, then left a harsh word before walking into the bathroom. Fei Yuan lay on the bed, listening to the water sounds from the bathroom, slowly closing his eyes. In his dream, Fei Yuan and Fu Zhaoshui were loving, their sweetness something no one could come between. Fei Yuan couldn't help calling out second brother before opening his eyes. When he saw Fu Zhaoshui looking at him with tender eyes, he realized everything just now was only a dream. Now that he was awake, it shouldn't continue. Fei Yuan suddenly sat up in bed. Due to the quick movement, he choked a bit, and Fu Zhaoshui quickly grabbed the kettle and poured him a cup of water. Fei Yuan gulped down the entire cup of water. Afterward, he wiped his mouth with his hand and politely said, "Thank you, second master. That was refreshing." As Fu Zhaoshui went to put away the cup, Fei Yuan called out, "Second master." Fu Zhaoshui turned to look at him. Fei Yuan reached out for the cup. Fu Zhaoshui, confused, handed it to him. He placed the cup upright in the middle of the bed, like a boundary line between Chu and Han, dividing the bed into two sections. After placing the cup, he declared his innocence. Fu Zhaoshui almost laughed in anger. "Is this funny? There's no innocence left between us." Fei Yuan replied playfully, "There wasn't before, but now there is. One deal at a time. Transaction complete, no returns." Second master said enough for today, so today's account is settled. Fu Zhaoshui looked at Fei Yuan's innocent expression and sighed. He turned and left the room directly. Fei Yuan heard the door slam. Finally relaxing, he collapsed on the bed like mud. He really didn't deserve second master's care. In the middle of the night, a dark figure stood by Fei Yuan's bed. The person slowly placed their hands on Fei Yuan's body, moving gradually. At first, Fei Yuan thought it was Fu Zhaoshui, so he didn't mind, until the person suddenly pinched him. Then Fei Yuan realized this definitely wasn't Fu Zhaoshui. Second brother Fu wouldn't do such a shameless thing. So who was in his room right now? "Who the fuck are you?" The quiet night was broken by Fei Yuan's angry shout. The shadow, startled, immediately tried to run. Discovering he'd been molested by this intruder, Fei Yuan was furious, cursing, "How dare you take advantage of me?" He grabbed a chair and threw it at the person. The chair hit the door, waking up the entire courtyard. Fei Yuan tried to escape, but was caught and pinned down by the shadow. When Fu Zhaoshui arrived, he saw Fei Yuan disheveled and pinned to the ground, while the person was hurling vulgar insults at him. Fu Zhaoshui charged forward, his fists and feet carrying deadly force. At first, the person was defiant, constantly shouting and cursing. As Fu Zhaoshui landed punch after punch, the person began begging for mercy, but Fu Zhaoshui didn't stop. Seeing that Fu Zhaoshui's hands would be ruined if he continued, Fei Yuan quickly pulled him back, begging him to stop. Fu Zhaoshui finally stopped, breathing heavily at Fei Yuan's plea. Without much talk, Fu Zhaoshui and Fei Yuan packed their things and walked into the courtyard. The snow had stopped, and the orange courtyard lights shone on the snow and the varied expressions of the villagers' faces. Fei Yuan stood at the doorway, hearing the crowd's commotion, especially that sharp-faced ruffian who called out to others, "Look, the boss with his mistress. Aren't mistresses usually women? But look how he's more seductive than a woman." Disgusting tears. A man not earning money through ability, but by selling his body was shameful. The words were unbearable. Fei Yuan's chest burned with anger, but his limbs were ice cold. He was powerless to argue back. No one cared whether he was actually selling himself or not. They just enjoyed trampling others. Then a sharp-faced person in the crowd said, No wonder he won't pay medical fees, probably saving it for his mistress. Fu Xiaoshui, looking at the disgusting man before him, finally couldn't endure it anymore. He pulled out a stack of money from his pocket, threw it in his face saying medical fees, then immediately threw a punch. Back in the car, it was as cold as an ice cellar. Still seemingly not recovered from the recent incident, Fei Yuan continued to shiver. Fu Xiaoshui held his hand and said softly, "It's over now. The national highway should be cleared. We can leave." Watching Fu Xiaoshui drive while showing concern for him, Fei Yuan gradually relaxed and fell asleep in his seat. When Fei Yuan woke up, he found Fu Xiaoshui wasn't in the car. After getting out of the car, he discovered Fu Xiaoshui secretly rubbing his arms outside. Fei Yuan quickly draped his coat over him, scolding him for not taking care of himself. While speaking, he pulled down Fu Xiaoshui's rolled-up sleeves. Although the scars were no longer visible on his arms, the pain inflicted on Fu Xiaoshui's back then was very real. Perhaps leaving Fu Xiaoshui would be the best choice for him. After making up his mind, Fei Yuan solemnly bowed to Fu Xiaoshui, saying they were almost at the town, and he'd be fine even if Second Master didn't escort him further. He thanked Second Master for taking care of him these past few days, saying he would forever remember this kindness. After speaking, he turned to leave. Fu Xiaoshui grabbed Fei Yuan's arm, pulling him back and said closely, "Kindness isn't meant to be remembered, it's meant to be repaid." Fu Xiaoshui looked at Fei Yuan and said, "To keep that hospital bed for your son, I had someone advance 200,000 in fees. You can either pay cash or repay with your body. I've never been a good person, and I don't do losing business. You should know this better than anyone." Fei Yuan turned to glare at him. Fu Xiaoshui continued, "I felt sorry for you earlier and let you sleep. Otherwise, I'd make you repay now." Fei Yuan, bristling with anger, shouted, "I'll give you money cash payment." Fu Xiaoshui's face turned cold. "You're using Chu Zhao's money." Fei Yuan didn't know how he knew about the money's origin. Now he was truly scared. Fu Xiaoshui despised Chu Xiao the most. Fei Yuan quickly softened his attitude, trying to smile and call him second master, but before he could finish, Fu Xiaoshui opened the car door and pressed him against the back seat, holding him firmly. In the haze, Fu Xiaoshui finally released his lips and said in a low voice, "If I don't act, he will repay your debt for you. You can only be indebted to me alone." As Fei Yuan panted, Fu Xiaoshui pointed at his chest. "You'll repay your debt yourself. I don't want your money." At the hospital entrance, Fei Yuan was still making his last effort to stop Fu Xiaoshui from entering with him. "Second Master, you really don't need to follow me. I'm just a dog now. You could kill me with one word. I wouldn't dare run away." Fu Xiaoshui took a breath to stabilize his blood pressure and said calmly, "You're right about being a dog, specifically a not-so-bright husky. Let go and you're gone, so I better keep you close." Fei Yuan silently thought, then kissing me would be like kissing a dog. They arrived outside Xiaobu's hospital room. As soon as they arrived, Jing Xia cried and threw herself into his arms, saying she was worried he wouldn't return in time. While saying how scared she was, Fei Yuan gently comforted her. Then he asked her to go wash her face in the bathroom. Fu Xiaoshui watched this scene with a dark expression. After she left, he couldn't help saying, "Didn't I tell you not to get involved with women anymore?" Hearing this, Fei Yuan exploded. "If not with women, then be ambiguous with you? Aren't you getting married? What right do you have to control me?" 6 years ago, at Fu Linfeng's birthday banquet, Fei Yuan sat with Fu Linfeng. Watching the women surrounding second brother, Fu Linfeng said that was the marriage partner big brother had chosen for him. Fei Yuan better not interfere with second brother developing feelings for her. Otherwise, they couldn't even remain friends. Fei Yuan pretended to be casual, saying it wouldn't happen. He barely knew Fu Xiaoshui. Hearing this, Fu Linfeng happily hugged Fei Yuan's neck, saying that's great. But being as perceptive as Fu Linfeng was, how could he not see the ambiguity between Fei Yuan and second brother? Could Fei Yuan really let go of second brother? At this moment, the Fu family's fourth young lady, Fu Yun, came to call third brother to go boating, leaving Fei Yuan sitting alone. Fei Yuan lowered his head, watching his unconsciously falling tears, thinking how unsightly he had become. While thinking, Fei Yuan suddenly heard someone shouting for help. Someone had accidentally fallen into the lake while playing by the water. Without thinking, Fei Yuan jumped in to save them. Fu Xiaoshui had jumped in a step ahead of him. They each dragged one person up from the lake. Lu Shiyao, who was rescued by Fu Xiaoshui, couldn't help but feel reassured by second brother Fu. Unfortunately, he didn't know his flirtatious glances were wasted on a blind man. At that moment, Fu Xiaoshui's heart and eyes were filled only with Fei Yuan. He walked over to personally drape a towel over Fei Yuan, worriedly asking if he had caught a cold. But Lu Shiryao would never give up on something he wanted. Fu Xiaoshui would definitely be his. Months later, all major media outlets announced the news of Lu Shiryao and Fu Xiaoshui's upcoming engagement. Fei Yuan looked at Fu Xiaoshui, waiting for his explanation. Fu Xiaoshui looked at Fei Yuan and said, "You know very well I have feelings only for you, no one else." But Fei Yuan, blinded by anger, ignored him and turned to leave, paying no attention to Fu Xiaoshui's sweet words. Seeing Fei Yuan's stubborn attitude, Fu Xiaoshui became anxious. He couldn't bear Fei Yuan leaving again, so he pulled him directly into the hospital room next to Xiaobu's. Fu Xiaoshui had reserved the room, so no one would come here. After explaining, Fu Xiaoshui directly kissed Fei Yuan. He wanted to prove through actions that in all these years, he hadn't been with anyone else except Fei Yuan. They kissed while stumbling towards the bed, their doubts already resolved. Fei Yuan watched the sleeping Fu Xiaoshui, wishing time would stop at this moment so they could stay together forever. Fu Xiaoshui suddenly opened his eyes. Fei Yuan thought he had woken him and quickly apologized. But Fu Xiaoshui wasn't angry. Instead, he held Fei Yuan tighter, kissing his forehead repeatedly, as if treating a precious treasure. The next day, Fei Yuan managed to get Fu Xiaoshui's permission to go to work by acting cute. However, at the company, he discovered his clients had been taken away. The dog manager claimed it was year-end client redistribution, but all the old clients he had carefully cultivated were given to others. But for the year-end bonus, Fei Yuan had to grudgingly accept it. Just when he was at a loss, he suddenly saw Chu Xiao. Fei Yuan wondered why he was here. After greeting him, Chu Xiao explained that his new store was about to open, and he was here to check on it. Fei Yuan couldn't believe his luck that the store belonged to Chu Xiao. He immediately pulled him aside to discuss details, but suddenly someone called out to stop him. It was a bodyguard in black, saying he was sent by Second Master Fu to protect young Master Fei. Now Second Master had an urgent matter and needed young Master Fei to return. Fei Yuan thought something had happened to Fu Xiaoshui and anxiously wanted to return. The bodyguard said Second Master was fine, but Third Master had an issue, and Second Master urgently needed to discuss it with him. Chu Xiao also mentioned he would be around for a few days, and Fei Yuan could find him if he needed help. Fei Yuan worriedly followed the bodyguard back, happily thinking how considerate second brother was to send someone to protect him. Back at the hospital, Fei Yuan immediately asked about Fu Linfeng's condition. Fu Xiaoshui comforted Fei Yuan while showing him the message he had just received. The text said Fu Linfeng had been kidnapped. If the 5 million ransom wasn't paid on time, or if they contacted the police or Fu Yingshan, they would kill him immediately. Fei Yuan was shocked by the message, unable to believe someone dared to kidnap a Fu family member. The people Fu Xiaoshui called filled the entire hotel. But Fei Yuan was still worried about Fu Linfeng's safety. After all, Fu Linfeng was one of his few friends. Fu Xiaoshui comforted Fei Yuan, saying his men were skilled at tracking. Just then, a call came to Fu Xiaoshui's phone. His subordinate indicated they could trace it. When he answered, it was a synthesized voice message playing in a loop, demanding the money be placed in the trash can outside Warehouse 13 at Haicheng Freight Terminal before 3 p.m. Fu Xiaoshui knew they should follow the kidnapper's instructions while secretly tracking them to find Fu Linfeng's whereabouts. At 3 p.m., as expected, someone suspiciously approached the trash can, took out the package hidden inside, and threw it directly into the river. Fu Xiaoshui's bodyguards immediately surrounded the person and questioned them about Fu Linfeng. However, the captured person was clearly just a hired helper responsible only for transferring the money, knowing nothing else. Just when everyone feared the worst for Fu Linfeng, Chu Zhao's phone rang. When answered, it was Fu Linfeng's voice. He said he was fine, just that his car had broken down, and asked second brother to send someone to pick him up. At 3 a.m., they finally found Fu Linfeng in a remote cave. He was covered in blood, lying in Chu Zhao's arms. If they had arrived any later, they might have been collecting a corpse. Fu Xiaoshui tried to take Fu Linfeng from Chu Zhao's arms, but Fu Linfeng directly wrapped his arms around Chu Zhao's neck. They had no choice but to let Chu Xiao carry him to the car. On the way, Fu Zhaoshui asked Chu Xiao how he found Fu Linfeng. Chu Xiao replied it was just luck. He encountered blood-covered Fu Linfeng on the highway. The kidnappers had sedated him, and he was in shock. When first found, he could barely speak clearly. Back at the villa in Haicheng, after Fu Linfeng woke up, no matter how they asked, he insisted he couldn't remember anything, angering Fu Zhaoshui to the point of wanting to hit him. If Fei Yuan hadn't held him back, Fu Linfeng would have suffered new injuries before his old ones healed. Chu Xiao stood outside with a tray of food, seemingly having been there for a while. Presumably hearing the argument inside, he hadn't dared to enter. As they passed by, Chu Xiao suddenly said, "I finally understand why you and Brother Yuan separated in the end." Fu Zhaoshui's expression darkened at these words, turning to glare fiercely at Chu Xiao. Fei Yuan was terrified, his hair standing on end, cursing this kid for bringing up such a sensitive topic. Chu Xiao, seemingly oblivious to Fu Zhaoshui's anger, smiled and said, "Brother Yuan is considerate of others, but you don't even know how to write the word consideration. You can't even be considerate to your own family. How could anyone expect you to treat Brother Yuan well?" Fu Zhaoshui pulled Fei Yuan into the room, kissing him fiercely. Afterward, he carefully asked if he was really inconsiderate. Fei Yuan patted his shoulder, smiling with a hint of bitterness. "You've spoiled me more than anyone else in my life." Fu Zhaoshui looked at him with dark eyes. "Then why did you leave Dash?" Fei Yuan interrupted him. "It's all in the past." Fu Zhaoshui held Fei Yuan tight, saying, "I won't let it be in the past." They began kissing passionately. Fei Yuan, looking at the domineering Fu Zhaoshui, thought to himself, "I don't want it to be in the past either." The sound of shattering glass came from the room. Behind the door were glass shards, milk spilled everywhere. Chu Xiao held Fu Linfeng tightly, patting his panting back, comforting him. It's okay, you're safe here, be good." Fu Linfeng revealed red eyes from Chu Xiao's shoulder. Seeing the two at the door, he pushed Chu Xiao away angrily. "Be good my ass, don't treat me like some girl. I've used all those tricks before." Fu Linfeng shoved Chu Xiao away, calling him a gay boy. "Stay away from me." Chu Xiao wasn't angry, instead lifted Fu Linfeng's chin with interest, saying, "I'm not gay, but I can try with you." Then Fu Linfeng, embarrassed and angry, chased him out. Before leaving, Chu Xiao added, "Our engagement is still valid, you know." Standing at the door, Chu Xiao was still savoring Fu Linfeng's adorable angry expression when his phone suddenly rang. After answering, the other party directly asked, "Young Master Chu, are you satisfied with my welcome gift?" Chu Xiao knew the caller's identity as soon as he answered. He calmly replied, "I can help you find Fei Kuan, but if you dare harm Fu Linfeng or Yuan again, I guarantee you'll regret it." The person on the other end laughed off Chu Xiao's threat. After all, he was the one who delivered Fu Linfeng to Chu Xiao. If Fu Zhaoshui investigated, everyone would be implicated. Besides, the Fu family killed Chu Xiao's mother, so he was actually helping Chu Xiao. Chu Xiao was unfazed by the threat, saying that even if it meant mutual destruction, young Master Chu could handle it. He then hung up immediately. The person hadn't expected Chu Xiao to be so uncompromising. However, once they got the evidence from Fei Kuan, bringing down the Fu family would be imminent. After that, they wouldn't care what happened. After staying at Chu Xiao's for 2 days and recovering, Fu Linfeng gradually recalled fragments of the kidnapping. There seemed to be many people involved, with a man and woman as the masterminds. When I was confined, I vaguely heard their voices. The man's voice sounded familiar, and the woman's voice was hoarse. I couldn't hear clearly, Fu Linfeng said while eating. Fei Yuan noticed him staring and said, "If you have something to say, just say it." Fu Linfeng glanced at his second brother Fu Zhaoshui, tapping his fingers on the table. Fu Linfeng hesitated, then softly said the two masterminds mentioned Fei Yuan several times. Fei Yuan froze, and Fu Zhaoshui's expression changed, asking what exactly they said. Fu Linfeng frowned and asked Fei Yuan, "Who did you offend?" "I vaguely heard them mention you and your son." Fei Yuan turned pale, breathing heavily. His vision blurred. A man and woman involved with Fu Linfeng, blackmailing Fu Zhaoshui, threatening his son. It took him just a second to realize who they might be. Fei Kuan and Fu Yun. These two had nearly ruined his entire life. After repeatedly yielding, avoiding, and being forced to hurt those he loved, despite all his concessions, they still dared to return. Yuan, Fu Zhaoshui said firmly, ignoring the other's looks. I won't let you leave me again. I won't let anyone take you away from me. Fu Zhaoshui pulled Fei Yuan close, holding his hands and gazing into his reddened eyes. I know what you're thinking, Yuan. This time, I won't let any misunderstandings come between us. Whatever happens, we'll face it together. Fei Yuan felt a wave of heartache. If he had been more mature back then, able to face changes calmly, they wouldn't be suffering like this now. Fei Yuan turned away, withdrawing his hands from Fu Zhaoshui's. He said quietly, the kidnappers haven't been caught yet. They might return. If what Lin Feng says is true, and their targets include me and my son, then Lin Feng should return to the Fu family's territory in Ning City. They won't be able to get to him there. Fu Lin Feng thought for a moment before saying through gritted teeth, I won't leave. I can catch those bastards myself. Chu Xiao clapped dramatically, giving a thumbs up. Beautiful. That's what I call a real man. Fu Lin Feng rolled his eyes at him. Chu Xiao smiled and blew him a kiss, adding, I like Fu Lin Feng. Fu Lin Feng wanted to throw his bowl at him. This guy kept bringing up their engagement, constantly reminding Fu Lin Feng how stupid he was as a child, being played by someone 5 or 6 years younger. Fu Zhaoshui watched Chu Xiao and Fu Lin Feng's playful fight, then turned to whisper to Fei Yuan, Don't worry, I'll call for backup right away. They had barely finished speaking when the fight ended. Young Master Fu Lin Feng was pinned to the dining table by Chu Xiao, who suggestively pressed against him. Fu Lin Feng immediately backed down, crying out, Brother, save me! Seeing his second brother ignore him, Fu Lin Feng broke free from Chu Xiao's hold and ran to the bathroom. After Fu Lin Feng left, Chu Xiao's playful demeanor changed as he straightened up, saying he wanted to participate in this operation. Everyone probably guesses this is connected to Fei Kuan. I couldn't avenge my mother's death, but I can at least collect this debt. And Yuan Ji, have you really not been in contact with Fei Kuan? Fei Yuan said he hadn't contacted Fei Kuan for 3 years. Then, saying Xiaobu might be in danger, he left with Fu Zhaoshui to pick up their son from the hospital. Watching Fei Yuan's hurried departure, Chu Xiao knew he must be hiding something. Just then, Fu Lin Feng came out of the bathroom to find the living room empty. What's going on? Why did everyone leave? Everyone's gone. Chu Xiao's voice suddenly appeared behind Fu Lin Feng. Startled, he swung his hand back, his nails leaving a scratch on Chu Xiao's face. Fu Lin Feng felt awkward afterward, since the other was just joking with him. He quickly apologized and showed concern for Chu Xiao's injury. Chu Xiao looked at the person before him. He suddenly pulled him close and kissed him. After Fu Lin Feng realized what was happening, he immediately pushed him away. Fu Lin Feng pushed Chu Xiao away, breathing heavily. Chu Xiao narrowed his eyes and licked his lips. His glistening red lips curved into a smile as he asked, What's wrong? Fu Lin Feng turned his head away, frowning. Who's giving up? I just saw you were too into it. Get your head straight. I'm not gay. Chu Xiao pinched his pale face, laughing. The Fu family's third young master knows how to have fun. What? Are you afraid you'll fall in love with me after having some fun? Is my third sister-in-law that innocent? Fu Lin Feng gritted his teeth. Let's see who gets whom first. At the hospital, Fu Zhaoshui and Fei Yuan were preparing to leave with Xiaobu after scheduling the surgery. While in the elevator, Xiaobu kept staring at Fu Zhaoshui, babbling something. Fu Zhaoshui wondered if the child wanted him to hold him. Before he could finish thinking, Fei Yuan lifted Xiaobu and asked if Fu Zhaoshui wanted to try holding him. Fu Zhaoshui took Xiaobu from Fei Yuan's arms, and sure enough, the child liked him. Fu Zhaoshui suddenly called out, Yuan, and when Fei Yuan turned to respond, he was suddenly kissed. The kiss came out of nowhere. Fei Yuan blinked in surprise. Fu Zhaoshui smiled at him as if nothing had happened, his dark eyes as gentle as a clear summer night. Fei Yuan wondered if he could continue living this happily forever. But the wheels of fate often turn in directions opposite to our hopes. Early the next morning, Fei Yuan was up making phone calls, quietly reassuring someone on the other end not to worry, saying he would handle it. Fu Zhaoshui heard this and immediately got up to embrace Fei Yuan, asking why he was up so early. Fei Yuan smiled and said a winery client was being poached and his boss was urging him to return to work. Fu Zhaoshui thought to himself that once he starts working, he won't see him all day. So he held Fei Yuan tighter. Seeming to know what Fu Zhaoshui was thinking, Fei Yuan suggested that Second Master Fu could come with him to work. Fu Zhaoshui was overjoyed. This was the first time Yuan had invited him along. After getting ready, they drove to the Haiqing Hot Springs Resort Hotel. Upon arrival, they found the purchasing manager was away on business. Fu Zhaoshui noticed the coincidence. He smirked. "Did you want to enjoy the hot springs alone with me, but were too shy to say it?" Hearing their conversation, the receptionist helpfully started promoting suite services, recommending the 8888 value package, claiming it was an unbeatable deal. Fei Yuan said dismissively that he had no money and turned to leave, but Fu Zhaoshui grabbed him, saying, "If you give me a kiss, I'll treat you." Seeing Fu Zhaoshui's happy expression, Fei Yuan stood on tiptoe and kissed him. Fu Zhaoshui immediately chose the most expensive package. As they soaked in the outdoor hot spring, Fu Zhaoshui asked Fei Yuan if he could help scrub his back. After Fei Yuan agreed, he began slowly wiping Fu Zhaoshui's back with a towel. When he saw the scar was still there, he couldn't help asking why he hadn't removed it. Fu Zhaoshui said he had treated the scar on his arm because Fei Yuan would cry whenever he saw it. But before he could treat the scar on his back, Fei Yuan had run away. With no one to see it, what was the point of treating it? If Fei Yuan wants to see it, he'll continue the treatment. But does Fei Yuan wanna? Will he still want to look at him? Fu Zhaoshui spoke his thoughts directly. Fei Yuan blushed at the direct question, stammering that they should treat it first. Seeing Fei Yuan's red face, Fu Zhaoshui's lips curved into a smile. Fei Yuan tenderly kissed the scar on Fu Zhaoshui's back. Although the wound had long healed, Fei Yuan could still imagine how brutal it must have been when the injury occurred. Fu Zhaoshui suddenly felt Fei Yuan's kiss and turned to embrace him. "Do you know what happens when you tease me like this?" Fei Yuan unusually replied that he was willing. Fu Zhaoshui looked at Fei Yuan's face and couldn't help but kiss him. That night, Fei Yuan watched the sleeping Fu Zhaoshui and apologetically kissed him. "I'm sorry I lied to second brother Fu again, but some things I must resolve myself." When Fu Zhaoshui woke up to find Fei Yuan gone, he angrily thought he'd been too lenient with him, letting him dare to run away. Fu Zhaoshui got up and made a call to his subordinates, ordering them to find him no matter what. Meanwhile, Fei Yuan, wearing a baseball cap, walked alone on the street. He quietly entered a budget hotel and went straight upstairs to a room. In the room sat Fei Kuan, who impatiently asked Fei Yuan why he suddenly wanted to meet. Fei Yuan demanded Fei Kuan to confess if he had kidnapped Fu Linfeng. Fei Kuan irritably denied it, saying he was too busy fleeing for his life to plan any kidnapping. He then started asking Fei Yuan for living expenses, saying if Fei Yuan hadn't stopped sending money, and with Xiao Yun's mental state still unstable, he wouldn't have come to meet Fei Yuan at all. Just then, someone knocked on the door. Fei Yuan called out asking what they wanted. The person outside said they needed to check the plumbing. Fei Yuan remembered the boss saying that whenever someone claims to check plumbing, it means danger. Fei Yuan quickly exchanged clothes with Fei Kuan and told him to escape through the window. "Don't let them find you. Just text if anything happens." Just as he finished saying this, the people outside burst in and pinned Fei Yuan down. Upon realizing they had caught Fei Yuan instead of Fei Kuan, the bodyguard apologized and turned to chase after Fei Kuan. Fei Yuan noticed how the bodyguard addressed him and realized these were second brother's men. But why did second brother want to catch Fei Kuan? While Fei Yuan was thinking, he suddenly heard someone call his name. It was Fu Zhaoshui. Fu Zhaoshui approached with a dark expression. Seeing him, Fei Yuan knew he was in trouble. In the Haiqing villa, Chu Xiao was busy on the phone. From the conversation, it became clear that the Fei Kuan who just met with Fei Yuan was actually someone Chu Xiao had hired to impersonate him. Fei Yuan's meeting proved he was still in contact with Fei Kuan. Meanwhile, Fu Linfeng came up behind Chu Xiao, asking why he left the child with him. Chu Xiao quickly hung up the phone and went to comfort him, saying he was his real baby. Fu Linfeng, mindful of the child's presence, refused to respond to Chu Xiao's flirting. Chu Xiao smirked, asking if he would respond once the child couldn't see. He then picked up the child, held them close, and turned to kiss Fu Linfeng. Fu Linfeng blushed at Chu Xiao's actions and quickly changed the subject, asking if they'd found Fei Yuan and if he might be in danger. Upon learning that Fu Zhaoshui had found him, Fu Linfeng silently lit a candle in his heart, hoping Fei Yuan could withstand his second brother's fury. After Fu Zhaoshui found Fei Yuan, he had been continuously punishing him. Fu Zhaoshui left various marks on Fei Yuan's body. He gripped Fei Yuan's neck and asked softly if it hurt. Seeing no response from Fei Yuan, He increased the pressure, determined to get an answer. After getting an affirmative response, Fu Xiaoshui sneered, saying it wasn't painful enough. Otherwise, Fei Yuan wouldn't dare to run away. This time, he would make sure Fei Yuan properly understood the consequences of running away. Second Master Fu punished Fei Yuan over and over. When Fei Yuan woke up the next day, he was still dazed. He tried to get up to dress, but Fu Xiaoshui held him down, saying the punishment wasn't over. Since he'd rested well, they should continue. Fei Yuan was shocked that Fu Xiaoshui still had energy to torment him. However, today was Xiao Bu's surgery day. Fei Yuan begged Fu Xiaoshui to show mercy and let him accompany Xiao Bu for the surgery. But Fu Xiaoshui ignored Fei Yuan's request, telling him that if he dared to run, he should be prepared for punishment. Outside the room, Fu Xiaoshui's private doctor stood at the door. The secretary, seeing the doctor's foolish appearance, complained about why he was just standing there, wondering how someone with his intelligence became a doctor. The doctor didn't get angry, just saying he feared Second Master might accidentally kill Fei Yuan in his anger. Just as he finished speaking, Fei Yuan's pleas for mercy came from inside. It seemed the doctor's concerns weren't unfounded. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Xiao Bu's surgery had begun. After failing to reach Fei Yuan by phone again, Fu Linfeng finally got angry, criticizing how a father could not show up or even answer calls for such an important event as his child's surgery. Chu Xiao, watching Fu Linfeng's anger, smiled and asked if he was really naive or just pretending. He knew very well what Fei Yuan would face after being caught by his second brother, and it probably wasn't over yet. Fu Linfeng was shocked that Chu Xiao would say such things directly, his face turning red with embarrassment. Seeing how cute he looked, Chu Xiao couldn't resist pulling him into his arms for a slow kiss. Fu Linfeng pushed him away forcefully, then vigorously shook Chu Xiao while arguing. Their noise prompted a nurse to remind them to keep quiet in the hospital corridor. Fu Linfeng covered Chu Xiao's mouth to prevent him from saying more shocking things. Chu Xiao laughed at Fu Linfeng's childish action and directly kissed his hand. Fu Linfeng quickly withdrew his hand and hid aside, ignoring Chu Xiao's teasing. Back in Haicheng, after the punishment, Fei Yuan developed a high fever. While sleeping, he mumbled that he wouldn't run away anymore and begged to see Xiao Bu during surgery. Fu Xiaoshui left the room, instructing the doctor to treat him and telling the secretary to book flight tickets. Fu Xiaoshui watched the doctor lift Fei Yuan's blanket and asked irritably why he needed to do that. The doctor replied helplessly that it was for treatment. Fu Xiaoshui picked up Fei Yuan, saying, "I'll do it." He then took the medicine in his mouth and fed it to Fei Yuan, making the doctor blush at the sight. After Fei Yuan woke up, he promised not to run away again and begged Fu Xiaoshui to let him see Xiao Bu. Fu Xiaoshui said with a scheming face that he could, but Fei Yuan had to agree to one condition first. Fei Yuan could tell Fu Xiaoshui had no good intentions, but to see Xiao Bu quickly. He gritted his teeth and agreed. In Wuhan City, Xiao Bu's surgery was finally complete. Chu Xiao and Fu Linfeng returned to the hotel to rest. Fu Linfeng complained about being exhausted and said he would definitely need a good sleep. He went straight to freshen up after returning to the room. When he came out of the bathroom after his shower, he found Chu Xiao lying on his bed. Yet he showed no awareness of being an intruder, casually saying he was there to give Fu Linfeng a massage. Fu Linfeng didn't believe Chu Xiao could be so kind and quickly tried to drive him away. Chu Xiao pushed Fu Linfeng onto the bed and started massaging without permission. Surprisingly, the young master was actually skilled at massage. Fu Linfeng couldn't help but moan in comfort. Chu Xiao took the chance to mention he had special massage techniques. He asked Fu Linfeng if he wanted to try them. Fu Linfeng happily agreed, asking him to massage his waist since he'd been standing all day and was exhausted. Chu Xiao started with a proper massage, but gradually became mischievous. When he caressed Fu Linfeng's lower back again, he was pushed away. Fu Linfeng's resistance meant nothing to Chu Xiao. He restrained Fu Linfeng and kissed him forcefully. As Fu Linfeng struggled violently, Chu Xiao pulled off his bathrobe. While kissing, he said that Fu Linfeng's body was more honest than his mouth. Fu Linfeng then realized he was responding to Chu Xiao. Shocked, he drove Chu Xiao out of the room, warning that if he found him entering his room again without permission, he would make him regret it. The next day, Fu Linfeng ignored Chu Xiao completely. Until evening, when Chu Xiao took Fu Linfeng to Wuhan City's most famous Sichuan restaurant without permission. He used Fu Linfeng's favorite foods to cheer him up. After eating, Fu Linfeng's mood indeed improved significantly. Watching Fu Linfeng eat heartily, Chu Xiao quietly picked up some food to feed him. Fu Linfeng instinctively ate what was offered. Seeing that Chu Xiao hadn't eaten anything after so long, Fu Linfeng asked why he wasn't eating. Chu Xiao laughed and said he was eating, then picked up the food Fu Linfeng had bitten and ate it. After returning to the hotel, Fu Linfeng said good night to Chu Xiao, keenly noticing his voice had become very hoarse. Upon careful inquiry, he learned that Chu Xiao couldn't handle spicy food. Fu Linfeng scolded him for not taking care of himself and was about to go downstairs to buy medicine. Chu Xiao held Fu Linfeng back, typing on his phone to show him that he didn't need medicine and would recover naturally in a few days. If Fu Linfeng would sing for him, he'd recover even faster. Fu Linfeng refused to agree to such an unreasonable request and turned to leave. Chu Xiao hugged Fu Linfeng's waist, pitifully saying he was in pain. Fu Linfeng softened and agreed to stay in the room to sing him to sleep. On the plane, Fei Yuan was thanking Fu Xiaoshui for taking him to see Xiaobu. Fu Xiaoshui held up his phone saying no thanks needed. This was what he deserved. Fei Yuan saw the video on the phone and blushed, wanted to turn it off, but Fu Xiaoshui wouldn't let him. He wanted the whole world to hear Fei Yuan's beautiful voice. They continued playfully arguing until reaching Wuhan City. When they arrived, Xiaobu had just been discharged. Chu Xiao and Fu Linfeng brought Xiaobu to welcome them. While ordering, Chu Xiao noticed that Fu Linfeng, who usually loved spicy food, was ordering only mild dishes. Knowing this was to protect his throat, he happily said brother Linfeng was so caring. Fu Linfeng grumpily replied that he didn't want to be a nightingale singing all night again. Fei Yuan, observing their interaction, keenly sensed something between them. He made an excuse to use the bathroom and pulled Chu Xiao to the emergency stairwell to talk. Fei Yuan grabbed Chu Xiao's collar, demanding to know his intentions. Though Fu Linfeng was from the Fu family, he had a kind heart and never hurt anyone. He wouldn't allow Chu Xiao to hurt Fu Linfeng. Chu Xiao tried to change the subject, pretending not to understand. Fei Yuan didn't care whether Chu Xiao admitted it or not. He just wanted Chu Xiao to promise he wouldn't bother Fu Linfeng. Chu Xiao smiled and agreed, saying, "All right, I promise." After giving Chu Xiao a look, Fei Yuan left. Chu Xiao leaned against the wall alone. Thinking about Fu Linfeng's girlfriends over the years, he thought, after dragging me in, you want to stay safe on shore? Chu Xiao, promise I won't let you off. Fei Yuan and Fu Xiaoshui left with Xiaobu. In the elevator, they met Lu Shiyao's brother, Lu Zihong. He was Fei Yuan's friend. Lu Zihong patted Fei Yuan's shoulder, about to greet him. But Fu Xiaoshui pushed him away and urged him to leave quickly. Then he took Fei Yuan into the elevator and left. Lu Zihong wasn't angry at being driven away, instead smiling and remarking that things hadn't changed. At night, lying beside Fu Xiaoshui, Fei Yuan thought about his past self, who took Fu Xiaoshui's kindness for granted and accepted it without hesitation. Back then, he naively believed they would never break up, even if the Earth was destroyed. But before the Earth's destruction, they had already broken up. Not because Fu Xiaoshui left him, but because he abandoned Fu Xiaoshui. Fei Yuan stared absently at Fu Xiaoshui's sleeping face. Fu Xiaoshui, unable to sleep under that gaze, opened his eyes and asked what was wrong. Fei Yuan suddenly hugged Fu Xiaoshui tightly and began acting coy. Looking into Fu Xiaoshui's eyes, he wanted to say, "I love you." But he couldn't say it, instead blurting out, "Second brother, take me." Fu Xiaoshui rolled over, pinning him down. He cautiously asked what was wrong. Since the last time Fei Yuan was this proactive, he ran away the next day. What was he planning this time? Was it because of Lu Zihong? Fu Xiaoshui's suspicion was understandable, as Fei Yuan used to be quite restless. He would even send videos during Fu Xiaoshui's meetings just to tempt him to come home quickly. Though Fu Xiaoshui pretended to remain composed during meetings, his heart had already flown to Fei Yuan. Fu Xiaoshui asked if he still missed Lu Zihong, since they had gotten along so well on WeChat. Also, did he help Fei Kuan kidnap Fu Linfeng? The things he left in the locker were collected regularly. Was he meeting Fei Kuan on the day he ran away? Fei Yuan looked at Fu Linfeng in disbelief, shocked that Fu Linfeng had people monitoring his every move. Fei Kuan, his own brother and closest relative in the world, had repeatedly pushed him into an abyss of no return. 3 years ago, it was Fei Kuan who tricked him into that den of evil. If not for him, he wouldn't have been caught by Master Tang, and second brother wouldn't have risked taking him from Fu Wingshan. Though Master Tang appeared to let them leave, he later sent pursuers to seek justice for his pet. Second brother's arm was injured then, and Fu Zhaochun lost his position in the Fu family for defying Fu Wingshan, forced to follow Fu Wingshan's arrangements ever since. Thinking of Fu Zhaoshui's fate, Fei Yuan broke free from his grip. He threw himself into an embrace, apologizing profusely. But Fu Zhaoshui misunderstood, thinking Fei Yuan was admitting to kidnapping Fu Lingshan with Fei Kuan. After Fu Zhaoshui and Fei Yuan left 3 years ago, Master Tang was relieved Fu Yingshan only took one of Xuan's eyes. Qiu couldn't help saying that if Fei Kuan hadn't been tempted by money and lured Fei Yuan over, he would have almost ruined Master Tang's plan. Xian whimpered on Master Tang's lap, and Master Tang immediately silenced Qiu. He said Xian wasn't someone Qiu could criticize, and ordered him to seek revenge for Xian while Fu Zhaoshui and the others weren't far away. Sitting in the truck, Qiu kissed the ring on his thumb, silently vowing that one day he would make Master Tang accept him. His love for Master Tang would remain unchanging until death. Fei Yuan explained to Fu Zhaoshui that he hadn't conspired with Fei Kuan. He just regularly left money in that locker for Fei Kuan to collect. This time, he suspected Fei Kuan had kidnapped Fu Linfeng, so he initiated contact to meet and get clear answers. Fu Zhaoshui carried him to the bathroom, turned on the shower, and washed Fei Yuan's tear-stained face. He actually didn't distrust Fei Yuan. He just wanted Fei Yuan to not keep secrets from him. They should face everything together. He feared Fei Yuan getting hurt. Hearing second brother express his concerns, Fei Yuan felt moved and promised Fu Zhaoshui he wouldn't hide anything from him in the future. Fei Yuan suddenly remembered about Chu Xiao and Fu Lingshan's situation. But knowing Fu Zhaoshui's strong dislike for Chu Xiao, he decided to tell him later. Instead, he changed the subject by acting coy, complaining that Fu Zhaoshui had been too rough earlier. His shoulders were still sore. Fu Zhaoshui leaned in to kiss Fei Yuan lovingly. He knew what kind of apology Fei Yuan wanted. Two people in love reconciling was the most wonderful thing in the world. Meanwhile, Fu Linfeng eagerly called Chu Xiao to celebrate his gaming rank promotion. They drank and toasted together, and gradually Fu Linfeng became tipsy. Yet he still wouldn't put down his glass. Chu Xiao took his glass, offering to feed him, then took a sip and kissed him. They kissed passionately in their alcoholic haze, as if they were the only two people in the world. After some time, they separated. Su Xiao asked if they should continue. Fu Linfeng asked confused, "Continue what?" Chu Xiao pointed at Fu Linfeng's aroused state, smiling awkwardly. Fu Linfeng suddenly realized he had become aroused by Chu Xiao again and hurriedly pushed him out of the room, then sat alone thinking. Could he really have feelings for him? No, absolutely not. Fu Linfeng shook his head violently, trying to shake off this absurd thought. He could only love Lin. There couldn't be anyone else. The story of Lin and Fu Linfeng began 6 years ago. They met and fell in love online, talking about everything daily. They played games together, chatted together. When Lin felt unwell, she would act cute with Fu Linfeng, who would comfort her. Though they hadn't met in person, Fu Linfeng would sing to Lin every night before bed. Lin was like a clingy, affectionate cat, tugging at Fu Linfeng's heartstrings. Fu Linfeng couldn't bear only hearing his lover's voice every day, and persistently urged Lin to video chat. During their first video call, Lin was extremely nervous and even learned makeup for Fu Linfeng. But Fu Linfeng didn't appreciate her effort and instead mocked her makeup. After that, Lin didn't speak to Fu Linfeng for 3 whole days. During these 3 days, no matter how Fu Linfeng tried to find Lin, she never appeared. During these 3 days, Fu Linfeng realized their only connection was through the internet. If Lin cut off contact, Fu Linfeng would have no way to find her, even if he searched heaven and earth. When Lin resumed contact, Fu Linfeng eagerly confessed his love, expressing his feelings. Fu Linfeng longed to meet Lin in person, but she repeatedly declined, using the excuse that she was learning makeup and would meet him once she improved. Even though Fu Linfeng repeatedly assured her that she was already beautiful and didn't need extra makeup, he couldn't persuade her and could only wait for her to agree. Their first meeting was on Christmas. Lin appeared before Fu Linfeng like a graceful snow spirit. Fu Linfeng had never seen someone so beautiful. Everything about her matched his aesthetic perfectly. Their relationship progressed smoothly. They went shopping, traveled, watched sunsets, and shared their lives together. Even when Lin sometimes felt very insecure, Fu Linfeng would patiently comfort her. The happy days lasted for over half a year, until Fu Linfeng's roommate teasingly whispered in his ear, "I heard you've been dating a girl for over half a year, but haven't gotten her in a bed yet. Could it be that she thinks you're too old?" Fu Linfeng felt his roommate's words tainted his relationship with Ling, so he gave him a severe beating. But those words remained like a thorn in his heart. Would Ling find him distasteful? Fu Linfeng recalled those 3 days when Lin disappeared. He knew he couldn't lose his love again. So on Chinese Valentine's Day, Fu Linfeng took Lin to a hotel. Lin thought they were going to watch fireworks. Fu Linfeng suddenly embraced Lin, saying he wanted her. Lin pushed him away, saying she didn't want intimacy before marriage. But Fu Linfeng didn't respect Ling's wishes and pushed her onto the bed, pinning her down. He kissed his love recklessly. Ling struggled violently in fear. She pushed Fu Linfeng away forcefully, looking at her love with disappointment. Then she left crying. Fu Linfeng's rashness had scared away his love. His frivolity ended this pure relationship. After that, Ling never appeared again. Fu Linfeng didn't even get a chance to apologize. He could never find Ling again. He would never love anyone else besides Ling in this life. And he absolutely would not fall for a man. In the hospital, Fu Linfeng and Chu Xiao bickered like schoolchildren. One said the pink socks he bought were ugly, while the other said fashionable men don't wear plaid shirts. Fei Yuan could tell they had quarreled, but even children's fights shouldn't be this childish. Fei Yuan stopped their bickering. Fu Linfeng didn't want to stay with Chu Xiao, so he went to the hospital garden to clear his mind. Shortly after he left, Chu Xiao followed. Chu Xiao grabbed Fu Linfeng's hand and tried to drag him away without explanation. Fu Linfeng struggled violently. Seeing his defiance, Chu Xiao simply pinned him against the wall and kissed him forcefully. After the kiss, he asked why he was being temperamental when he clearly enjoyed it. Fu Linfeng looked at Chu Xiao, then pushed him away, turning his back and saying, "Chu Xiao, we have no future. It's better if we end it here." Then he left without looking back. The situation with Chu Xiao left Fu Linfeng distracted. He would even space out while walking. One day, Fu Linfeng bumped into second brother while lost in thought. After being scolded, instead of apologizing, Fu Linfeng glared at second brother. This made Fei Yuan repeatedly exclaim in surprise. Seeing them both teasing him, Fu Linfeng stormed off angrily. After Xiao Bu was discharged, New Year was approaching. That day, Fei Yuan asked how they would spend the New Year. Xiao Bu babbled about wanting cotton candy. When Dr. Cha heard this, he became excited and suggested they all go get the first cotton candy of the year. On New Year's Eve, everyone went to the temple fair together. Xiao Bu sat on Fu Zhaoshui's shoulders, looking around curiously at everything. Dr. Cha leaned lazily on his secretary's shoulder, whispering that second master had no principles when it came to young Master Fei, letting a kid ride on his shoulders. The secretary looked at Dr. Cha's silly expression and said this was family happiness. Meanwhile, Fu Linfeng was suddenly bumped by a child. Seeing the child about to fall, Fu Linfeng quickly reached out to steady them. The child's parents saw this and repeatedly thanked Fu Linfeng. Before he could fully enjoy the pleasure of helping others, a man roughly bumped into him. Fu Linfeng looked up to confront the person, but discovered that second brother and the others had disappeared. Fu Linfeng was lost. Suddenly, a hand grabbed Fu Linfeng. It was Chu Xiao, panting as he held on to Fu Linfeng, demanding to know why his phone was off and why he was wandering around. Fu Linfeng checked his pockets and found his phone missing. The person who bumped into him must have stolen it. Chu Xiao held Fu Linfeng's hand with one hand while calling Fei Yuan with the other to report they were safe. Fu Linfeng violently shook off his hand and turned to leave. Chu Xiao fearfully embraced Fu Linfeng, mumbling, "Don't let me lose you again. I was so scared." Chu Zhao's vulnerability touched Fu Linfeng. He silently allowed Chu Zhao's kiss. He should have broken free, but at this moment Fu Linfeng felt poisoned. He couldn't refuse Chu Zhao's gentleness. They kissed amidst the bustling crowd. The passing pedestrians became witnesses to their happiness. After the kiss, Chu Zhao held Fu Linfeng and said, "I told you it's just for fun. Don't misunderstand our relationship as love. We're just fulfilling each other's needs. Let's not go back tonight." Fu Linfeng froze in Chu Zhao's embrace. It seemed true. Their beginning was a mistake, so it couldn't be described as love. By the time Fu Linfeng came to his senses, Chu Zhao had already pulled him into a hotel. Fu Linfeng secretly convinced himself it was just for fun, that he didn't like him. He had just grown accustomed to his touch, nothing more. After understanding this, Fu Linfeng no longer rejected Chu Zhao's intimacy. They spent New Year's Eve together intimately. The next morning, they were awakened by Fei Yuan's call. As soon as Chu Zhao answered, Fei Yuan questioned where he had taken Feng, why they hadn't returned, and warned Chu Zhao not to misbehave or he wouldn't let him off. The noisy phone call irritated Fu Linfeng. He grabbed the phone. He snapped, "Yesterday, Chu Zhao and I ran into Fei Yuan. You're my sister-in-law, not my wife. Why are you meddling so much?" He hung up immediately. Fei Yuan was furious that Fu Linfeng now dared to hang up on him. Just then, Fu Zhaoshui came by asking if something had happened to third brother. Fei Yuan vented his anger on him, blaming everything on Fu Zhaoshui, saying even Feng had become rebellious because of him. At the hotel, Fu Linfeng lay in Chu Zhao's arms. Having just been intimate the night before, they were extremely clingy. After their first taste, they could barely talk before eagerly coming together again. After they were satisfied, Fu Linfeng was so tired he could barely keep his eyes open. Su Xiao tenderly carried him to the car on his back. For several days after, they were inseparable. Fei Yuan noticed how they went from being like fire and water to being inseparable, and felt something was suspicious. But Fu Zhaoshui advised him not to overthink and not to interfere too much in their affairs. Today, they managed to get Dr. Cha and his secretary to help watch the child so they could spend time alone together. Dr. Cha watched the secretary's awkward way of holding the child and couldn't help playfully putting an arm around his shoulder. He only stopped after getting his foot stepped on hard. Fu Zhaoshui and Fei Yuan finally had time alone together and naturally wanted to treasure it. Fu Zhaoshui took him to a blooming peach blossom forest. Seeing the mountains covered in peach blossoms, Fei Yuan was too moved to speak. He remembered their first kiss was in a peach blossom forest. Fu Zhaoshui had promised to take him back to that forest. Fei Yuan couldn't help asking Fu Zhaoshui. That peach forest was where they had their first kiss, so what about this one? Fu Zhaoshui embraced Fei Yuan, kissed him repeatedly, and said it was the place witnessing their reconciliation. As for Chu Xiao and Fu Linfeng, they had been intimate in hotels for several days. Fu Linfeng couldn't go to hotels anymore recently due to overuse. Fu Linfeng thought indifferently. He didn't want to stay at home watching his second brother's public displays of affection anyway. They could have fun anywhere. While they were waiting for the elevator, Fei Yuan came down carrying Little Boo. He asked Fu Linfeng where they were going and suggested joining them. Fu Linfeng strongly rejected them and left with Chu Xiao. Fu Zhaoshui and Fei Yuan were shocked. They thought Fu Linfeng hadn't been rebellious before because of his position, but who knew it was just coming too late. Fu Zhaoshui comforted Fei Yuan, saying it's more peaceful without them, and he'd take him for the best breakfast. Fei Yuan sat at the table eating 80 yuan tofu pudding, thinking this was indeed luxurious. Second brother. Suddenly someone came up saying, "Long time no see, Second Master Fu." Achio looked at Fu Zhaoshui. "I really envy Second Master and Young Master's relationship. It's enviably good." He turned to Fei Yuan, about to wish him Happy New Year, but Fei Yuan turned away immediately. Achio looked at him expressionlessly, realizing he wasn't welcomed by Young Master. As he tried to comfort Fei Yuan, saying Second Master's presence would keep him in check, Fu Zhaoshui interrupted, asking how Master Tang was doing. After a moment's silence, Achio bowed slightly to Second Master. "He's well, thank you for asking." He needed to buy breakfast for Master Tang, so he took his leave. Fei Yuan watched Achio leave and sighed in relief, thinking finally he's gone. He turned to Fu Zhaoshui, complaining about why Achio was here, and worried about Lin Feng and Chu Xiao being out. Fu Zhaoshui comforted him, saying this was Du Wantong's territory, so Qiu's presence was normal. Worried, Fei Yuan tried calling them, but no one answered. Qiu was capable of anything. Fu Zhaoshui assured him not to worry, saying he'd have Chong'an look for them. In the cinema, Chu Xiao and Fu Linfeng were watching a movie. Fu Linfeng's face was red with embarrassment because of the many restricted scenes. He regretted booking a private screening. They were alone in the theater, watching kissing scenes. Chu Xiao suddenly asked, "Your face is red." Lin Feng shouted embarrassedly, "Nonsense! How can you see that?" Chu Xiao lifted his chin, saying he could guess their relationship, so of course he was blushing. Lin Feng pushed his hand away, saying they were just friends, and told him to focus on the movie. After a moment of silence, Chu Xiao smirked. "What's the point of watching others?" In the hotel corridor, 3 people arrived at the room door. Fei Yuan knocked hard while the 2 inside scrambled to get dressed. Chu Xiao opened the door, explaining he had headphones on so didn't hear, and Fu Linfeng was just sleeping. Fei Yuan pulled off the blanket, questioning why they got another room after leaving the hotel. Xue Xiao showed the movie tickets, explaining they felt dizzy from the 3D movie, so got a room to rest. Though Fei Yuan didn't believe it, he had no proof. He hurried Lin Feng to get up, saying Fu Zhaoshui was waiting downstairs. When Lin Feng got up, he suddenly felt a sharp pain and trembled with a moan. Fei Yuan asked concernedly if he was unwell. Lin Feng quickly explained he was just dizzy. Chu Xiao knelt to help him put on his shoes. The 2 were dumbfounded. Yellow Hair curiously asked if he owed money, saying that's how he acted when he owed people money. Someone immediately covered his mouth. Fei Yuan helped him up from bed. His face was red, and he didn't forget to curse Chu Xiao with his eyes. The 4 sat around a table in the hotel. Fu Linfeng asked what was happening. Zhao Shui handed over a card. Du Wantong was making moves again. The card invited the 3 to attend the God of Wealth banquet. Fei Yuan asked puzzledly why they invited the Fu brothers for business. But what was the reason for inviting him? Besides, he wanted to take Little Boo for a follow-up checkup. Fu Zhaoshui comforted him, saying Zhemu could take care of Little Boo, and he should come along to relax. Time shifted to early in the year, and the 3 arrived at the God of Wealth banquet venue, Hudong Club. Inside, Fei Yuan asked Fu Zhaoshui if this was a trap. Zhaoshui assured him that the God of Wealth banquet invited distinguished guests from all over, both political and business circles. They wouldn't dare, but Fei Yuan was still worried. Zhaoshui held his hand comfortingly, telling him not to worry, saying Du Wantong couldn't threaten him anymore, then patted Fei Yuan's head. He just needed to enjoy the food and drinks. Nothing else mattered. Then the servers struck the gongs and drums. Qiu pushed Du Wantong in a wheelchair, and everyone respectfully applauded to welcome them. Fei Yuan wondered what happened to her legs. Qiu pushed Du Wantong to their table and lifted her from the wheelchair. He asked if she wanted to say something to the guests. Du Wantong glared fiercely and said, "Get lost." Qiu introduced Master Tang to everyone, expressing joy at their attendance and wishing them a happy new year and success. He asked them to enjoy the banquet, then picked up a bowl and offered it to Master Tang. Du Wantong glanced at him sideways, saying, "Take it away. Don't make me angry." Fu Zhaoshui sarcastically said Qiu was such a good child, and their relationship was enviable. Du Wantong retorted that if he envied it so much, she could give him the child, but wondered if he could handle such an ungrateful wolf. Hearing this, Qiu immediately knelt down, hugging her legs, begging that he belonged to Master Tang and wouldn't go with anyone else, wanting to serve Master Tang for life. Du Wantong pulled away her hand and told him to leave. Fu Zhaoshui raised his glass, saying Master Tang's God of Wealth banquet lived up to its reputation, able to gather important figures from all 5 provinces of the East Sea, and offered a toast. Qiu stood up, taking Du Wantong's wine glass, saying, "Second Master, you're too kind. Master Tang can't drink, so I'll drink this on his behalf." He downed it in one gulp, then holding the table said, "Distinguished guests, Master Tang is unwell and must leave. Please continue enjoying the banquet." After they left, people discussed how rumors said Master Tang was paralyzed in his mistress's bed, apparently affecting his brain nerves. Officially, it was called a stroke. After dispersing, the 3 discussed their next move. Fu Zhaoshui pointed to some officials, saying he needed to accompany them and told the other 2 to go have fun, but to keep their phones accessible. In the scenic areas bar, Fei Yuan had a headache from the music. He went outside for some quiet when he suddenly heard someone shouting, "Don't touch me," thinking it sounded like Du Wantong's voice. He stood up and peered through the Phoenix window. Inside the room, Achio was holding Du Wantong, who was struggling, and telling him to get lost. Achio kissed Du Wantong's forehead, saying slowly, "Achio will serve Master Tang now." Outside the window, Fei Yuan covered his mouth in shock, not daring to make a sound. In the room, Achio was changing Du Wantong's shoes. Despite her telling him to leave, he showed no intention of going. He squeezed Du Wantong's legs, saying, "You're tired. Let Achio massage your legs." Fei Yuan watched from outside, wondering if this was really just a leg massage. Suddenly, a sharp pain made Du Wantong slap him, shouting, "Don't touch me. Get out." Achio asked why, then lay across Du Wantong's knees, asking why Xian could massage Du Wantong's legs, but Achio couldn't, saying Du Wantong knew that Achio was before he could finish. Du Wantong shouted at him to shut up, saying he had no right to compare with her. Achio persisted, holding Du Wantong's hand, saying she had no right to compare with him, as he was the one who loved her most. Du Wantong pushed him away in disgust, saying if he didn't want her to hate him, he should stop immediately. But Achio showed no intention of stopping. He carried Du Wantong to the bed, saying since she already hated him, if he couldn't be the most loved, he could be the most hated. Then he kissed her, saying, "You're my Tang Yin. I love you." Suddenly, there was a noise outside that startled Fei Yuan. The people inside the room heard it too. Achio opened the door immediately. Fortunately, Fei Yuan had hidden quickly, or it would have been trouble. He patted Xie Chong'in's shoulders, saying he was scared to death just now, asking what happened. Xie Chong'in turned to look at him. Had their relationship deteriorated to the point where they couldn't meet casually anymore? Fei Yuan pointed at him, telling him to stop commenting and get to the point. Xie Chong'in grabbed Fei Yuan's hand, saying, Yuan, being with Second Master is too dangerous. I heard Second Master has been controlled by Fu Yingshan, becoming his puppet." Fei Yuan didn't take it seriously, laughing that these were just rumors, saying I trust him. Xie Chong'in worriedly asked if he was good to him. Fei Yuan released his hand, smiling and answering yes. Meanwhile, in the bar, Fu Linfeng was surrounded by women inviting him to join them. Just as he was about to decline, Xiao Xiao walked in with women on both arms. They sat on the sofa, with a woman sitting on his lap, inviting him to play truth or dare. Fu Linfeng walked over, glaring at the women, telling them to get off his lap. The woman reluctantly leaned on Chu Zhao's shoulder, saying he was so fierce. Linfeng pulled his arm and dragged him out. Chu Zhao asked teasingly from behind if he was jealous. Linfeng pushed him against the wall, shouting that he was worried about diseases. When Chu Xiao tried to grab his hand, he was pushed away. Linfeng turned and left, saying don't come find him tonight. As Linfeng walked out the main door, he kept thinking he definitely wasn't jealous. Absolutely not. But why hadn't he chased after him yet? Just then, Chu Xiao rushed out, shouting, Fu Linfeng, stop right there. Then he grabbed his hand, saying, it's too noisy here. Let's go somewhere quiet. Suddenly someone called out to them. It was Fu Zhaoshui, asking worriedly where a Yuan was. Fei Yuan hugged him from behind, poking his face, saying, I'm right behind you. What's wrong? Fu Zhaoshui turned and held his hand, telling him something bad had happened, but to trust him and let him handle it. Little Bu had been kidnapped. Fu Zhaoshui pulled Fei Yuan close, telling him not to panic. They left a note. The note said, the child has been troubling you. We'll raise him ourselves from now on. Fei Yuan gritted his teeth, saying it must be those bastards Fei Kuan and Fu Yun. In the car, Fei Yuan muttered in Fu Zhaoshui's arms, saying regardless of what they were like, Fu Yun was still her mother. They would take good care of him. Besides, Little Bu was well-behaved, and the surgery was successful. He wouldn't be in any life-threatening danger. That was the silver lining. Fu Zhaoshui held him tighter. At the People's Hospital, people gathered. Xie Chong'in supported Yellow Hair, saying there were 4 or 5 of them, moving quickly with clear objectives. The whole process took less than 10 minutes. As he spoke, he blamed himself, saying it was his fault for not protecting Little Bu well. Xie Chong'in comforted him, saying it was clearly a premeditated crime. How could one person fight against so many? Besides, he was injured too. He shouldn't blame himself too much. Suddenly, Fei Yuan's phone rang. It was a photo of Little Bu with a message. We will take good care of him. Brother, you've had it tough these years. We'll make it up to you. Fei Yuan angrily shouted at the phone. Make it up my ass. Little Bu just had surgery. They can't even take care of themselves. How can they take care of Little Bu? Hurting me wasn't enough. Now they're going after the child. Fu Zhaoshui held down the agitated Fei Yuan, saying people have been sent to search everywhere. Little Boo would be fine. 3 days later, Xie Chong'in reported that the child had definitely been moved out of Wuhan. Before Xie Chong'in could finish, Fei Yuan anxiously asked Fu Zhaoshui what to do, saying Little Boo couldn't stay with them. Xie Chong'in interrupted them, explaining that legally, even to reclaim custody of Little Boo, they would likely need to go through legal procedures. Since they were the biological parents, unless abandonment could be proven, they might face kidnapping charges and civil compensation. Fei Yuan was stunned, wondering why everything was always taken away from him. Fu Zhaoshui hugged him consolingly, saying he still had him, and he would be good to him forever. The next day, 3 people discussed returning to Ning City at the table. They would look for evidence of abandonment first, while Fu Zhaoshui had Chong'in continue investigating secretly. Fu Linfeng worried if Fei Yuan could return to Ning City because of Big Brother. Fei Yuan raised his lowered head, saying he must go back. No matter what happened, he had to bring Little Boo back. Fu Zhaoshui also said he would protect him. They would leave tomorrow, and Fu Linfeng should return too, because Big Brother had given an ultimatum to bring him back this month. Hearing this, Linfeng slammed the table and turned away, saying he wouldn't go. He was 26 already and didn't want to be controlled again. Fu Zhaoshui angrily shouted, "What does being 26 matter? You still got kidnapped when I looked away. There's only a few days left this month. You must return with me." That evening, the two chatted on the balcony. Linfeng talked about being taken back, but Chu Xiao had no reaction, just saying, "Have a safe journey." Fu Linfeng pulled at him, asking if he had nothing else to say. Chu Xiao turned to look at him. After a moment of silence, he kissed his forehead. Fu Linfeng leaned on his shoulder, asking, "So we're just friends, right?" Chu Xiao hugged him, saying, "If that's what you think." Fu Linfeng looked at him pitifully, asking, "What do you think?" Chu Xiao didn't answer, just smiled and said yes. Linfeng turned to leave, making excuses about being drunk and needing sleep. Su Xiao grabbed him, saying, "I'll miss you." Fu Linfeng stubbornly told him not to, but Chu Xiao pulled him back into his arms, saying, "I can't help it." Then, leaning on his shoulder, he said, "Linfeng, I can let you be free. Can you not return to Ning City?" But Fu Linfeng broke free, saying, "We're just friends. You're crossing the line." Watching Fu Linfeng leave, Chu Xiao thought he was annoyingly stupid, but he was determined to make him confess his feelings. Fu Linfeng hid behind the wall with a bottle, wondering why his heart was racing when he hadn't drunk much. That night, Achio called Chu Xiao. He mocked that they were leaving, saying he's going back to Fuingshan. "You must be lonely." Chu Xiao laughed, saying he wouldn't last because he had already conquered him. Achio mocked further, saying, "But didn't he say you're just friends?" Chu Xiao retorted, "At least we're both willing. When have you ever gotten close to anyone without getting slapped? Come laugh at me when you manage that." Achio said angrily, "Stop talking nonsense. Hurry and make them find Fei Kuan. If someone beats us to it, you'll be crying." Then he hung up the phone. In the room, subordinates praised Achio's clever move. The child was Fei Yuan's heart and soul. For the child's sake, Fei Yuan would definitely help them find Fei Kuan. Achio turned to look at Little Boo in Du Wantong's arms, blaming them for being useless in catching Fei Kuan, which led to this plan. Watching Du Wantong happily playing with the child, he thought there were some benefits. Du Wantong, holding Little Boo, ordered servants to bring food as the child was hungry. Achio brought the food, but Du Wantong stopped Little Boo from eating, explaining that since he just had surgery, delicate snacks would be better. Achio put down the plate. He said he'd buy some right away. Du Wantong grabbed his arm, reminding him to buy some supplements too. Achio covered Little Boo's eyes and slowly leaned down, whispering in Du Wantong's ear, "Master Tang, what else do you want?" Little Boo wondered why adults always covered his eyes. Du Wantong pushed him away, saying the child is here. "Go now." Achio looked at him lovingly and said, At the airport, Fei Yuan and Chu Xiao hugged, thanking each other and saying take care. Fu Zhaoshui and Fu Linfeng wanted to kill each other on the side, but Zhaoshui pulled them apart, saying that's enough. We need to go in. Chu Xiao turned to Fu Linfeng, asking for a hug too. Fu Linfeng turned away proudly, saying he didn't want a hug, but got hugged anyway. He secretly slipped a small box into Linfeng's hand, waving goodbye to them. Linfeng was curious about what he'd been given, but when he opened it, his face turned pale. Fu Linfeng was curious about what was in the box, but when he opened it, his face turned ashen from shock. Fei Yuan curiously asked what was wrong. Fu Linfeng snapped the box shut, saying nothing. They arrived in Ning City that evening. Fei Yuan looked at Fu Zhaoshui's villa with heavy thoughts. They were finally back. Fu Zhaoshui patted his shoulder, telling him not to worry. He would protect him and not let Big Brother touch him. Fei Yuan patted himself, saying his escape skills were quite good, telling Fu Zhaoshui not to worry. Their foreheads touched as Fu Zhaoshui softly said, "Let's go in. We're home." That night, the couple lay in bed. Fei Yuan held Fu Zhaoshui's arm, discussing going to Little Bu's hospital tomorrow to look for evidence. Fu Zhaoshui comforted him, saying he'd left this to professionals. He just needed to rest and stay healthy. Being so worried would lose points with the judge if they had to fight for custody in court. Fei Yuan looked at him, asked if he really looked that bad now. Fu Zhaoshui kissed him, saying very bad. But Fei Yuan was still worried. About Little Bu, Fu Zhaoshui kissed his nose, then kissed lower, saying, "Let me help you take your mind off it." The next day, Yellow Hair handed medicine to Fei Yuan, saying it was effective and he could help. Fei Yuan shyly pushed him out, saying he could manage. After a while, Fei Yuan came in. Fu Zhaoshui asked concernedly if it still hurt, then held him in his arms, saying he'd be careful, apologizing for yesterday. Xie Chong'in watched the two, embracing lovingly. Suddenly, Yellow Hair put his arm around his waist. He immediately slapped Yellow Hair's hand away. Yellow Hair was already in tears. Fu Zhaoshui showed Fei Yuan the documents, explaining these were Fei Kuan and Fu Yun's files. Fei Yuan would look through these materials with Zhimu today to see if there were any friends they might contact. Fei Yuan looked at Fu Zhaoshui, finally with some light in his eyes, saying he would look carefully. Fu Zhaoshui stroked his head, glad to see some spirit back. He said he had some business to attend to, telling Fei Yuan and Zhimu to stay home, as it wasn't safe outside. Zhimu looked at him, feeling envious. Fei Yuan turned to see him mumbling to himself, wondering what this guy was thinking. If Xie Chong'in could be this intimate with him, he would die laughing from happiness. Fei Yuan ignored him and looked at the documents on the table, suddenly discovering something. He asked Zhimu if an AB blood-type father could have an O-type baby. The document showed Fei Peng's father was AB type, first son O-type, and Fei Kuan the second son AB type. Zhimu turned to him, saying it's impossible. An AB father can only have A, B, or AB-type children. Fei Yuan put down the papers, saying he was tired. He went upstairs to rest. Back in his room, Fei Yuan clutched his chest, his heart beating rapidly. He remembered living at his grandmother's house in Sichuan as a child, where a brother always played with him. Later, his parents took him out of Ning City, and his mother died in childbirth. He hugged himself tightly, wondering why his memories were clear, but the blood types didn't match. Who was he really? He called Fu Zhaoshui, who worriedly asked what was wrong. Fei Yuan just kept calling him second brother, and said he seemed to have no family left. Fei Yuan hugged his knees in the room for who knows how long, until Fu Zhaoshui finally returned. Fei Yuan hugged him and cried, repeating he had no family left. Fu Zhaoshui held his face, comforting him that he still had him. He would always be his family. He held him tightly in his arms. Zhaoshui asked if he wanted to eat something, noting how thin he'd become. Fei Yuan pouted and said he just wanted to stay with him. Fu Zhaoshui smiled, cupping his face, saying the food had been bland lately, asking if it was tasteless. Fei Yuan said no, not all Sichuan food is spicy. As a child, he liked his grandmother's boiled cabbage. They discussed having hot pot while embracing, and just as they were about to kiss, Fei Yuan realized Fu Zhaoshui could speak Sichuan dialect. So he had understood when Fei Yuan cursed at him in Sichuan dialect before. Fei Yuan shyly turned his head away, asking why he hadn't said so earlier. Did he just like hearing him curse? Fu Zhaoshui lifted his chin, saying he loved hearing it, loved hearing anything from him. Then he kissed him for a long, long time. That night, they ate hot pot together. Fu Zhaoshui's face was red from drinking, looking at Fei Yuan, saying how beautiful he was. Fei Yuan saw his state and knew he was drunk, wanting to take him home. On the way, he complained about his poor alcohol tolerance, getting drunk so easily, though he was quite cute when drunk. Suddenly, Fu Zhaoshui looked up, hugged Fei Yuan, and kissed him, saying between kisses not to be afraid, he would protect him. Fei Yuan held him like a child, saying he would let him protect him in this life and the next. Fu Zhaoshui continued his drunken behavior, holding him and saying don't go. Fei Yuan pushed him, saying he wasn't leaving, just wanted to call a ride share. Fu Zhaoshui insisted on holding on, saying he wouldn't let go. If he did, he would run away. He shouldn't have deceived him, but he had no choice. He couldn't bear to give Fei Yuan to anyone else, but ended up hurting him instead. Fei Yuan stroked his head, saying he never regretted walking this path with him. He had never wronged him. Fu Zhaoshui looked at him, saying he didn't know what he had done. If he knew, he would surely hate him. Fei Yuan looked at him, and said nothing more. 3 years ago, the man slapped Fu Xiaoshui, blaming him for letting Zheng Junxin escape for the sake of a little pet. That person was an important bargaining chip. The man needed Deputy Governor Lu's support, and marrying Lu Shiyao was the easiest way. But Fu Xiaoshui stubbornly refused to marry. Fu Wingshan looked at him, saying then he should prepare to collect the pet's family's corpses. Fu Xiaoshui wasn't afraid of this threat. He turned to leave, saying he would protect him well. The threats wouldn't work. Fu Wingshan shouted at his back, "We'll see if I dare or not." That night, the Fei family mansion caught fire. Fu Xiaoshui held back Fei Yuan, who wanted to rush into the fire to save his father. His eyes were full of hatred. It was all Fu Wingshan's doing. He held the tearful Fei Yuan, only able to comfort him. Back to the present, Fei Yuan had just put Fu Xiaoshui in the car when he received a call from an unknown number. Fei Yuan answered. It was his brother Fei Kun. The voice said, "Don't speak, just trust him this time." Fei Yuan ignored this, demanding Little Boo's return. His brother was nervous, asking him to find somewhere Fu Xiaoshui couldn't hear. Fei Yuan followed his instructions, walking away a bit, asking if something had happened to Little Boo. Fei Kun cried on the phone, saying their father was dead. Surely Fu Xiaoshui did it. Fei Yuan was stunned. How could this be? He had been hidden so well for years. If he was dead, who else would know about his identity? Fei Yuan told him to stop lying, knowing he had taken Lil Boo. Just name his price. Fei Kun shouted that however heartless he was, he wouldn't joke about their father. Their father was dead. How could he be so indifferent? Fei Yuan questioned again if he really hadn't taken Little Boo. Fei Kun angrily punched the wall. What spell had Fu Xiaoshui cast on him? Had he forgotten who had ruined their family? Fu Xiaoshui had killed before. Had he forgotten all this? Maybe this was all Fu Xiaoshui's plan to lure Fei Kun out and destroy his evidence. Then he gripped his phone tightly, warning Fei Yuan not to go too far, or he'd show his true colors. Then he hung up. No matter how Fei Yuan called out, there was no response. He scratched his head. Things were getting worse. He lit a cigarette, recalling what Fu Xiaoshui had just told him. It was impossible. The next morning, they sat on the bed, dressed. Fei Yuan said he needed to confess something to Fu Xiaoshui. After the fire, his father hadn't actually died. He had placed him in a nursing home for treatment, but last night he passed away. Fu Xiaoshui hugged him, asking if that's why he said he had no family left yesterday. Fei Yuan thought it better not to mention the blood type issue yet. He turned to Fu Xiaoshui, saying he wanted to retrieve his father's body for burial. Fu Xiaoshui stroked his head, saying he would go with him. At the nursing home, staff said Fei Peng's body had already been taken by his brother, but his belongings were left behind. The staff led them to the room, pointing to a box saying everything was there. They could take it after signing at the front desk. Fei Yuan looked at the box, unable to believe his father was really gone. Fu Xiaoshui comforted him, saying he was still by his side. Fei Yuan turned to hug him, saying he still couldn't accept it. Fu Xiaoshui wiped his tears, reminding him that he would always be by his side. He said he'd go buy some water, while Fei Yuan checked the belongings, thinking it would be better for him to do it alone. After Fu Xiaoshui left, Fei Yuan opened the box. Inside was surprisingly the Fu family emblem. He anxiously took the emblem and ran to find the staff, asking where they found it. The staff curiously replied that it was all from his father's room. Fei Yuan gripped the emblem tightly, saying it was nothing. He was just here to sign. Just then, Fu Xiaoshui returned with his purchases, asking if he'd finished signing already. Fei Yuan agreed, saying they could leave after signing. Back at the villa, Fei Yuan put down the box. Fu Xiaoshui needed to return to the company. He told Fei Yuan to stay home. Chamu would keep him company, and he'd be back soon. After Fu Xiaoshui left, Fei Yuan stared at the emblem in disbelief. Was it really his second brother? He recalled what Fei Kun had said, and how his every move could be known at any time. He looked down at what Fu Xiaoshui had given him. The phone, when Fu Xiaoshui had held him, saying he had pleasant WeChat conversations with Lu Zihong and arranged meetings. And about sending people to protect him, it was actually surveillance, all to find him first and catch Fei Kun. Fei Yuan held his head in disbelief. All this wiretapping and tracking was for that evidence. He didn't know what to do. Tears fell one by one. How could he trust Fu Xiaoshui anymore? By the window, Fei Yuan trembled helplessly. Why did everyone deceive him? The The person he loved, his family, all were deceiving him. He didn't want to live in lies. He composed himself, went downstairs to find Jamu, and asked if he was bored at home, suggesting they go out together. Chamu looked at him, saying it was too dangerous outside. Fu Yingshan's people were watching closely. Fei Yuan sat down, patting his shoulder, saying he'd already spoken with his second brother, who told Chamu to protect him outside. With bodyguards too, there was nothing to fear. Chamu immediately put down his tablet, excited to finally get out instead of playing games inside. The two ate street food and had some drinks. Chamu slammed his glass down and started talking drunkenly about how Xiechong might look proper now, but used to be a delinquent, causing lots of worry. Fei Yuan pretended to drink beer while watching the bodyguards behind them, thinking of how to lose them. Suddenly, a yellow-haired man was talking very loudly on the phone. Fei Yuan looked carefully. It was Fu Yingshan's subordinate. Perfect timing. He stood up saying he'd get more skewers, then deliberately bumped into the yellow-haired man. The man turned and recognized Fei Yuan. Jamu saw the situation turning bad and immediately ordered the bodyguards over. The two groups started fighting, and Jamu and Fei Yuan took the chance to run. They ran until they reached a small alley before stopping. Jamu comforted him, saying not to be afraid. He'd call Xiechong in to pick them up. Fei Yuan picked up a wooden stick. He quietly snuck behind him and knocked him out with one blow. He picked up Jamu's phone and threw it in the trash. He was sorry to Jamu, but he had to know the truth. In the villa, Jamu apologized, saying it was all his fault. He lost both Little Boo and the young master. Xiechongen was concerned about his wound bleeding again, telling him to stop talking and go to the hospital for a checkup after consecutive head injuries. Fu Xiaoshui looked at his phone messages, ordering Xiechongen to send everyone to search. They must be found. Fu Xiaoshui cleared his phone, thinking he just wanted to protect a Yuan. At the villa, Fei Yuan looked at him, saying Fu Xiaoshui would surely find this place soon. Chu Xiao comforted him, saying this wasn't Ning City, and with him here, Fu Xiaoshui wouldn't dare touch Fei Yuan. Fei Yuan searched through his backpack. He had left a note asking Fei Kun to meet him. He brought his father's old comb that still had some hair on it. He wanted to ask Chu Xiao to do a paternity test. Chu Xiao took it and said no problem. Fei Yuan finally sighed in relief, thanking him. Chu Xiao noticed his exhaustion and suggested he should go rest. At night, someone opened the door with a key. It was Fu Linfeng. As he opened the door, he encouraged himself, saying he was just checking if Fei Yuan was here, trying to be righteous. Suddenly, Chu Xiao pinned him against the wall, teasing by his ear, saying you came. Fu Linfeng pushed him away, saying he was just checking if a Yuan was here. His brother had been frantically searching for days. Xue Xiao held his face, asking passionately if he came for him or for Fei Yuan. Fu Linfeng blushed, avoiding eye contact, stammering without answering who he came for. Xue Xiao turned his face straight again, asking him to answer. Then they embraced. Fu Linfeng's heart was pounding fast. Maybe he really did come for him. Chu Xiao brushed his hair, saying he was adorably cute. Fu Linfeng shyly pushed him away, telling him to shut up. Chu Xiao took his hand and led him to his room. Fu Linfeng was still asking if Fei Yuan was here. Chu Xiao glanced at him, made a hushing gesture, took his hand, and said being dishonest deserves punishment. Fu Linfeng coyly asked what he was going to do. Chu Xiao answered with a kiss. His fingers slowly slid down. Fu Linfeng giggled, saying it tickled. Chu Xiao had no intention of stopping. He continued downward, then whispered in his ear that it wouldn't tickle soon. After their activity, Fu Linfeng was getting dressed. Xue Xiao thoughtfully helped him dress, then suggested going to the bathroom together. Fu Linfeng, still blushing, shouted, "You want more?" Then Chu Xiao picked him up, saying he just wanted a shower, nothing else. That night, after Chu Xiao lulled Fu Linfeng to sleep, he had other matters to attend to. Just as he left the room, Fei Yuan approached. Before Fei Yuan could speak, he interrupted, suggesting they talk in the living room. While walking, they discussed how Fei Kun had contacted Fei Yuan, arranging to meet tonight. He was leaving now. Chu Xiao asked if he was sure about going alone, offering protection. Fei Yuan firmly declined, saying he needed to face and resolve this himself. Fei Yuan stood on the balcony, calling Du Liangxiu, saying a Yuan had gone to meet Fei Kun. Just following him would lead to Fei Kun. Akiu gritted his teeth on the other end, saying they must catch him this time. Chu Xiao teased, asking by his tone if he'd been slapped again. Akiu retorted that getting slapped was better than being a liar, like Chu Xiao. Chu Xiao laughed, saying liars get candy while Akiyu only gets slaps. The other end gave a cold laugh, saying we'll see when you bring trouble upon yourself. Chu Xiao took another deep drag of his cigarette, saying don't worry about that. How's Little Boo? Akiyu watched Du Wantong happily holding Little Boo, saying Master Tang really likes him and smiles more now. Chu Xiao took another drag, asking Akiyu what he'd do if Master Tang was his father's killer. Akiyu watched Master Tang holding Little Boo and said it didn't matter. He just wanted Master Tang. What's wrong? Are you hesitating? Because of Fu Lin Feng? That's right, they're both your important family members. Chu Zhao's eyes regained their determination, saying there was nothing to hesitate about. Akiyu looked at his hands, saying that people like them need to use some tricks to get what they love. Chu Xiao hung up the phone. He couldn't help it. He was letting down both Lin Feng and Brother Yuan, but he had to find his mother's killer. He couldn't let her death remain a mystery. He must avenge his mother. The truth would be known soon. The man sitting on the sofa was Chu Xiao. His cigarette was almost burnt out, yet he sat motionless, as if afraid to accept reality. His friend's words on the phone echoed in his mind. People like us need to use some tricks to get what we love. He struggled internally. Finally extinguishing his cigarette, he thought, so what if I fell in love with my enemy's relative? With newfound resolve, he pushed open the door. The man on the bed was still sleeping, with defined brows and a straight nose. Chu Xiao slowly approached. He took a soft ribbon and firmly tied Lin Feng's hands. He didn't want to hurt him, but couldn't let him escape either. After finishing, Chu Xiao caressed Lin Feng's face, admiring his sleeping expression. Leaning beside him, he thought perhaps life would be easier if he could be as innocent as Lin Feng. Perhaps disturbed by Chu Zhao's movements, Lin Feng opened his eyes. Still unaware of what happened, he looked confused, then realized his hands were tied. He immediately struggled, realizing Chu Xiao had done this, feeling angry and annoyed at how perverted Chu Xiao was. Chu Xiao pinned him down in an intimate position. Their eyes met. Chu Xiao begged Lin Feng not to leave, though Lin Feng hadn't mentioned leaving. Typical male manipulation. The next moment, Chu Xiao kissed Lin Feng's forehead. Lin Feng slightly furrowed his brows, turning his head aside, seemingly accepting Chu Zhao's next moves. By nighttime, Lin Feng was exhausted, silently cursing Chu Xiao as a bastard. Chu Xiao stood outside, turning the key to lock the room. The scene changes to an abandoned warehouse. Fei Yuan asked Fei Kuan about the evidence of Fu Zhaoshui's murder. Fei Kuan counter-questioned if Brother Yuan could really save him and Xiaoyan. Fei Yuan promised to clear all debts and arrange for them to live abroad after this was over. A mocking voice suddenly came from behind. Both Fei Kuan and Fei Yuan were startled. They turned to see Chu Xiao and Akiyu at the door. For bodyguards followed behind, slowly surrounding them. What was happening? How did Chu Xiao know about this place? Was it Fei Yuan's arrangement? Chu Xiao was here investigating his mother's death. Fei Kuan angrily accused Fei Yuan of promising to save them while potentially getting them killed. Chu interrupted Fei Kuan, saying he wouldn't die if he handed over the evidence, promising to help him and Fu Yun escape abroad. Yuan tried to stop Fei Kuan, saying such crucial evidence couldn't be handed over like this. But Fei Kuan immediately agreed to the deal. He was dead either way. He'd do anything as long as Fu Yun was safe. Fei Kuan led everyone to their hideout. He took out his phone and gave it to Akiyu. Once the secrets on the phone were exposed, Fu Zhai would be finished. Akiyu transferred the phone's messages to a computer. Everyone nervously watched the screen. The room was so quiet only heartbeats could be heard. A bloody scene appeared on the computer screen. Fu Zhaoshui held a blood-stained knife, with Chu Ruo lying in a pool of blood. Could the killer really be him? Chu Xiao rewound the video to watch it from the beginning. At the start of the video, Fu Yingshan and Chu Ruo were arguing in the room. Chu Ruo wanted to know about Fei Yuan's condition, but Fu Yingshan looked impatient. He roughly pushed the woman away, wondering where she and Fu Zhaoshui were secretly meeting. But you'll see him soon. After repeatedly ruining my plans, how could I let them go? The offspring of the Fei family must all be eliminated. Chu Ruo, worried about Fei Yuan's safety, tried to stop Fu Yingshan from harming him. She picked up a plate from the ground and smashed it against Fu Yingshan's head. With a loud crash, the man looked incredulous at the woman's death-seeking behavior. He violently grabbed her hair and choked her neck with his other hand. The woman struggled to breathe. He grabbed a knife from the table and stabbed her without hesitation, then pushed her to the ground. Chu Ruo lay helplessly on the ground, losing too much blood. The man, terrifyingly calm, immediately called his subordinates to handle the situation. He carelessly threw the knife outside the door. Passing by, Fu Xiaoshui picked up the bloody knife, wondering why it was there. Opening the door, he found Chu Ruo lying on the ground. Though unsure what happened, saving her was priority. He immediately carried Chu Ruo and rushed her to the hospital. Soon after, Fu Ian entered the room, puzzled by the blood on the floor. The video ended here. The truth was finally revealed. Fei Yuan could hardly believe it. It wasn't second brother who killed her. He had been deceived for so long. But why did Fu Ian lie? Why afterward? Why did he release the footage of Fu Xiaoshui with a knife? Fu Yun was recording his pregnancy diary and left his phone in the living room. He wasn't present during the incident. When he rewound the video later, he only saw Fu Xiaoshui holding the knife and Chu Ruo lying in blood. Frightened and pregnant, he dared not watch more and assumed Fu Xiaoshui was the killer. Later, Fei Kuan and Fu Yun watched the complete video and learned Fu Yingshan was the real killer. But they still used that clip, thinking to let the misunderstanding persist to separate Fei Yuan from Fu Xiaoshui. Fei Yuan's tears now flowed uncontrollably, his body shaking violently. 3 years ago, after the house fire, Fu Xiaoshui had confined Fei Yuan in the villa. Isolated from the world, Fei Yuan knew nothing of the outside. Dissatisfied but helpless against Fu Xiaoshui's actions, they had been in a cold war for a long time. Then Fu Yun's call came. His first words were that Fu Xiaoshui had killed someone. Fei Yuan was confused and wanted clarification. But Fu Yun said his stomach hurt badly and the baby might come soon. Fei Yuan first calmed Fu Yun, telling him not to panic, and immediately called 120, planning to pick up Fu Yun. Suddenly, noises came from outside, seeming to want to catch him. Fei Yuan realized these were Fu Yingshan's men. He quickly hid in a corner. After the bodyguards went upstairs, he rushed to the garage for his car. When the bodyguards saw him, Fei Yuan had already driven away. Fu Yingshan ordered over the phone that they must catch Fei Yuan. Fei Yuan sped down the highway, trying to shake off his pursuers, but Fu Yingshan's men kept close behind. Meanwhile, Fu Xiaoshui tried to contact Fei Yuan, but received Fu Yingshan's call instead. As soon as he answered, Fu Yingshan threatened Fu Xiaoshui to handle things properly, or he would teach Fei Yuan a lesson, not just making him disabled. Then Fu Yingshan hung up. In the back seat, Chu Ruo was bleeding severely, but still worried about Fei Yuan. At this moment, Fei Yuan finally answered Fu Xiaoshui's call. Fei Yuan was on the highway near the golf course, with a car constantly following him. At this moment, the pursuing car caught up and violently rammed into Fei Yuan's car, forcing him to stop. Fu Xiaoshui arrived just in time and used his car to ram away the red car, preventing Fei Yuan from getting hurt. Fei Yuan quickly got out and ran towards Fu Xiaoshui. Fu Xiaoshui's leg was trapped and couldn't move, while Fu Yingshan's men were approaching. Fei Yuan faced a difficult choice. But Chu Ruo's condition in the back seat was critical. He had to drive Chu Ruo to the hospital first. Fei Yuan felt guilty for not being able to take Fu Xiaoshui. He now realized Fu Xiaoshui was trying to save them. Yet he had been mistaken as the killer all along. Fei Yuan's tears wouldn't stop, containing too many emotions. I abandoned you. In a small motel in the suburbs, Fei Kuan and others had gone to sleep. Chu Xiao and Fei Yuan sat on the sofa talking. All these years, Chu Xiao wanted to find the killer for revenge. Now that the killer was found, he didn't know how to take revenge. Achio had taken the evidence. With Du Wantong's influence, they should be able to bring down Fu Yingshan soon. Chu Xiao knew Fei Yuan's emotions were complex and comforted him to rest early. But Fei Yuan couldn't forgive himself. He had misunderstood and failed that person. He couldn't let it go. After Su Xiao left, he still sat motionless by the window until late night. Suddenly, he heard car engines roaring below. Fei Yuan looked down. The figure looked familiar. It was Fu Xiaoshui. They gazed at each other in the moonlight, separated by a pane of glass. Knowing the truth, Fei Yuan didn't know how to face Fu Xiaoshui. He felt more guilt and remorse. He pulled the curtains, avoiding Fu Xiaoshui's gaze. Tears fell again. He didn't know what to do now. Only tears seemed able to wash everything away. Fu Xiaoshui knocked on Fei Yuan's door, hoping to see him. After internal struggle, Fei Yuan opened the door. Fu Xiaoshui apologized first. Fei Yuan responded, "You didn't wrong me. I didn't trust you enough." Fu Xiaoshui had waited long for this day. Fei Yuan was finally returning to him. He held Fei Yuan tightly. Fei Yuan gently pushed Fu Xiaoshui away. He had underestimated Fu Xiaoshui's love. Fu Xiaoshui didn't mind the misunderstanding. Even if Fei Yuan wanted his life, he would give it. Fu Xiaoshui's love was too intense. Just as Fu Xiaoshui's kiss was about to land on Fei Yuan's lips, Fei Yuan covered his mouth and ran to the bathroom. Fei Yuan was excited inside. He had waited long for this moment too. Second brother was back by his side. This was heaven's chance. He would cherish it well. The bathroom door opened. Fei Yuan came out freshly showered, his hair still wet, water droplets trailing from his collarbone downward. Fei Yuan walked straight to Fu Xiaoshui. Fu Xiaoshui pulled him into his embrace. Fei Yuan blushed. They sat face to face. The atmosphere grew intimate, their eyes revealing desire. Unable to resist, they shared a long kiss. At this moment, they belonged only to each other. Two lonely souls reunited. Fu Xiaoshui felt it all too surreal. He feared Fei Yuan would be like before, giving sweetness then a slap. But this was real. His Fei Yuan would never run away again. The next morning, Fei Yuan looked at the bright morning light outside. Since he promised never to leave yesterday, wherever Fu Xiaoshui went, he would follow. Fei Yuan decided to return to Ning City with Fu Xiaoshui. Even though Ning City wasn't peaceful now, being by Fu Xiaoshui's side and helping him even a little would be good. Fu Xiaoshui looked at the understanding Fei Yuan. He didn't want Fei Yuan to worry. He would handle everything. In the luxurious villa, Fu Wingshan angrily smashed his phone to the ground. The call just now informed him that evidence of the murder had been obtained. Clearly, they intended to use it to threaten him. Fu Wingshan showed no signs of remorse. Even with evidence, he would alter the truth. Fei Yuan opened the door to find Xiao Xiao drowning his sorrows in alcohol, already on his 9th bottle. Fei Yuan came to say goodbye. This matter was settled, and he would return to Ning City with Fu Xiaoshui. Chu Xiao handed Fei Yuan the note left by Fei Kuan. It roughly said that Fei Kuan had run away with Fu Yun, abandoning his own son. Since Fei Kuan made this choice, Fei Yuan wouldn't interfere. He would take care of Little Boo for Fei Kuan. Seeing Chu Xiao's troubled face, Fei Yuan asked about his next plans. Chu Xiao poured a glass of wine for Fei Yuan, speaking with both resignation and detachment. Nothing could be done. He couldn't bring down Fu Wingshan. Everything would have to take time. Fei Yuan suddenly noticed the red marks on Chu Xiao's chest. Just as he was about to show concern, he quickly realized these were lover's marks. Chu Xiao made no attempt to hide them, even offering to show more. Fei Yuan was surprised by Chu Xiao's openness and kindly reminded him to be gentle with his loved one, not to hurt them. Actually, Chu Xiao couldn't bear to hurt him, being too precious to harm. In Chu Xiao's villa, clothes were scattered messily on the floor. Chu Xiao, showing no restraint, spent a long night with Lin Feng. Afterward, Chu Xiao untied the rope from Lin Feng's hands, placed a gentle kiss on the corner of his eye. Then they fell asleep embracing. The next day, Lin Feng was awakened by Chu Xiao's sleep-talking. He kept repeating sorry and mom. Lin Feng realized Chu Xiao was crying. Startled, he had never seen Chu Xiao so vulnerable. He felt his forehead. It was hot, clearly a fever. No wonder he was talking in his sleep. Despite being sore from last night's activities, Lin Feng overcame his discomfort to care for the sick Chu Xiao. Soon, he brought warm water to Chu Xiao's lips. Chu Xiao was dizzy and clearly not fully conscious, still repeating mom and sorry. Lin Feng found it strange that a grown man would cry for his mother while feverish. But the fever couldn't continue. Lin Feng planned to call a taxi to the hospital. He found an old phone in the bedside drawer. The model was rare now, but somehow familiar. He decided to try turning it on. The phone powered on normally. He noticed the wallpaper showed his and Aling's hands. The password was the same as Aling's. Why did Xue Xiao have this phone? Lin Feng pondered. When Xue Xiao opened his eyes, he was in a hospital bed at Haiqing People's Hospital. Lin Feng sat beside him. Was this an unreal dream? Lin Feng spoke. I know everything. Stop hiding it from me. Chu Xiao froze. Just now, Lin Feng said he knew everything. Chu Xiao remained expressionless, but felt nervous inside. How much did he know? Did he know who killed his mother? Lin Feng sat there, his eyes full of guilt. He finally asked that question. You must hate me, right? Chu Xiao grabbed Lin Feng's arm, afraid he might run away, and confirmed again. You know everything? He really knew everything. He must think I approached him for revenge for my mother. Lin Feng, seeing Chu Xiao's reaction, thought he had guessed correctly and formally apologized. It's all my fault. I liked him very much, but I never thought it would harm him. Chu Xiao suddenly looked up. What love? What was Lin Feng talking about? I'm sorry if you think I'm being hypocritical, but I've always liked him. I can't forget a Lin. You're a Lin's brother, right? Chu Xiao hadn't expected such a misunderstanding. Lin Feng kept apologizing beside him. Chu Xiao remembered those words. People like us, to get what we love, must use some tactics. Though knowing it was wrong, he couldn't and didn't want to let go. Chu Xiao gripped Lin Feng's arm tightly. You want redemption? Then compensate me for what you owed him. Lin Feng hesitated, seemingly not understanding. Chu Xiao tightened his grip. After that incident, he couldn't love anyone else. He suffered daily, attempted suicide several times. You stole his heart and took his life. Hearing Chu Xiao's string of words, Lin Feng covered his face and wept, his guilt overwhelming him. He begged Chu Xiao to stop. Chu Xiao wouldn't stop, whispering like a demon. If you truly loved him and want redemption, I'll give you a chance. Take it or leave it, you decide. Chu Xiao pulled Lin Feng into his arms, both seducing and pressuring him to make a choice. Lin Feng hesitated, gazing deeply into those eyes that somewhat resembled a Lin's. Since Chu Xiao and a Lin were blood relatives, would a Lin want him to live on in his place? Making it up to him means making it up to a Lin, right? Lin Feng was lost in thought. Chu Xiao felt that although Lin Feng was looking at his eyes, he was seeing someone else. Seeing Lin Feng's delayed response, Chu Xiao asked, What are you thinking about? Lin Feng snapped back and agreed to Chu Xiao's request, though unsure how to make amends. Chu Xiao seized the opportunity with unreasonable demands. Treat me like you treated a Ling. Listen to me. Don't betray me. Then Chu Xiao deliberately asked, So what will you do? After an internal struggle, Lin Feng offered a brief kiss. He worried about Chu Xiao's recovery, having just woken up without breakfast. Chu Xiao calmly said, Don't change the subject. Continue pleasing me. Lin Feng skeptically asked if pleasing him would bring redemption. Chu Xiao darkly avoided a direct answer. You're in no position to bargain. You'll atone until I say it's enough. Time passed slowly, and Lin Feng collapsed exhaustedly on Chu Xiao's shoulder. A phone on the table buzzed with a notification. Chu Xiao checked the message. All of Fu Yingshan's incriminating materials had been submitted, and authorities were taking action. Now they just waited for the show. Chu Xiao placed the phone face down on the table, his expression sinister, thoughts unknown. Fu Xiaoshui opened the door. Fei Yuan was watching Little Bu. Due to recent unrest, Fu Xiaoshui worried about Fei Yuan's safety and assigned him a bodyguard. The man standing in the living room, wearing a professional suit with a scar on his face, was called Zhang Dong. Fu Xiaoshui was busy with work lately and couldn't accompany Fei Yuan often. Having a trusted bodyguard gave him peace of mind. He specifically told Fei Yuan to behave well, treating him like a 3-year-old. As his personal bodyguard, proper introductions were needed. Fei Yuan extended his right hand with a gentle smile. Hello, I'm Fei Yuan. Nice to meet you. Zhang Dong solemnly took his hand, introducing himself. Just call me Zhang Dong. He stared into Fei Yuan's eyes, secretly rejoicing. Finally found you. My dear brother. It was time for Fu Xiaoshui to leave. He pinched Fei Yuan's face and instructed, Be good at home. I'll return as soon as I finish work. Fu Xiaoshui then drove to the company. Little Bu called out sleepily from the room. Children want to sleep after using up their energy. Fei Yuan quickly picked him up to feed him breakfast. Zhang Dong suddenly asked, How old is the child? He's Little Bu for years old. Zhang Dong muttered quietly, Same age as my little brother. Fei Yuan wondered about such a large age gap between siblings, assuming their parents must have been very much in love. Zhang Dong explained it was his biological brother. Lost at age 4, Fei Yuan felt ashamed for his mistake. Zhang Dong shook his head. It's okay. I found him now. Dawn brought undercurrents. Fu Xiaoshui worked long hours, seeming to have endless matters to handle. Fei Yuan never questioned it, because he trusted Fu Xiaoshui. His second brother could always handle everything well. Though they spent less time together, Fei Yuan cherished their moments together. Another late night. Fu Xiaoshui had just returned from the company. He hugged Fei Yuan from behind. I haven't had much time for you lately. Are you angry with me? Fei Yuan wouldn't get angry over such small matters. They had finally gotten back together. Fei Yuan felt every moment they spent together was a gift. They would grow old together. Fu Xiaoshui looked at his understanding darling and kissed Fei Yuan's forehead. He promised that once everything was settled, he'd take him to see the peach blossoms in their hometown. Fei Yuan looked forward to the trip, whispering in Fu Xiaoshui's ear about visiting the inn beside the peach garden. Fu Xiaoshui instantly understood his little one was openly flirting. They held each other, their eyes revealing their mutual desire. Passion ignited like fire between them. Time passed slowly in that moment. Whatever you do, I'll support you. Don't worry about me. The next morning, Fei Yuan sat on the sofa, holding Little Boo. His right eye kept twitching, giving him a bad feeling. Little Boo tugged at Fei Yuan's clothes, pointing at people on TV calling Papa. Fu Xiaoshui and Fu Yingshan were being interviewed, with reporters directing their microphones at Fu Yingshan. Recent rumors suggested Fu Yingshan was involved in a murder case from years ago, interfering with political circles for personal gain, and had financial dealings with former executives. These materials were collected and spread by a Chiu. Suddenly, news of an explosion came on TV. Fei Yuan worried about Fu Xiaoshui being at the scene, trying to reassure himself while attempting to contact him. After several unanswered calls, news popped up. An explosion had occurred in the Fu Corporation's conference room. Casualties were yet unknown. That morning, Fu Xiaoshui had mentioned having an important meeting in the conference room. Worried about Fu Xiaoshui's safety, Fei Yuan rushed to the scene. The fire was intensifying, and crowds surrounded the building. The explosion had caused significant panic. Firefighters were still working to extinguish the flames. Fei Yuan saw Fu Yingshan being supported nearby, appearing to have just escaped the fire. The situation seemed suspicious, and Fei Yuan was certain Fu Yingshan was involved. He rushed to question Fu Yingshan as reporters noticed and approached with microphones. Mr. Fu, please describe the situation. Are there still people inside? We heard your brother was there. Fu Yingshan slowly addressed the cameras. The explosion was planned by Fu Xiaoshui. Today's shareholders' meeting was meant to reclaim his shares. Before the meeting, he spoke to me privately, asking me to let him go. But he was involved in murder, corruption, and personal profit. These were legally intolerable actions. Reclaiming his shares was already merciful, but I never expected him to be so extreme. When I refused, he tried to take me down with him. Fortunately, we were alone, or who knows how many others he would have harmed. He was desperate. I apologize for causing everyone such panic. After speaking, Fu Yingshan made a show of bowing. Fei Yuan revealed the truth at the scene. It was all Fu Yingshan's plot, but no one believed him. The interview ended. Fu Yingshan had people restrain Fei Yuan. He approached, gripping Fei Yuan's face, forcing him to look up. He mocked. When I left, your dear second brother wasn't dead yet. Look, he's still struggling inside. Fei Yuan broke free from Fu Yingshan's grip and tried to enter despite firefighters' attempts to stop him, calling for Fu Xiaoshui. Another explosion sounded, seeming to break Fei Yuan's last hope. He fell to his knees, wondering if Fu Xiaoshui regretted not visiting the peach garden together. A Yuan. Fei Yuan heard someone calling his name. Could it be him? He quickly stood up. It was firefighters who had found Fu Xiaoshui's belongings. With trembling hands, Fei Yuan accepted them, a pair of rings with their names engraved. Fei Yuan clutched them to his chest, vowing to avenge his second brother. Even if it meant going to hell, he would drag Fu Yingshan down with him. He turned and left. Just then, Fu Xiaoshui was rescued, covered in blood, and severely injured. Medical staff rushed him to the ambulance. Fu Yingshan sat in the back seat, smugly planning his next move. He arranged for his people to prepare a press conference to clarify recent rumors. Make the announcement look good. Pin everything on Fu Xiaoshui. A violent crash interrupted Fu Yingshan's words. Fei Yuan was following them, ready to fight to the death. The next second, Fei Yuan accelerated. In this accident, both cars were totaled. 7 years ago, on the 17th day of the first lunar month, in the town where Fu Xiaoshui grew up, everyone was releasing sky lanterns by the river. Fei Yuan held a river lantern, writing his name and wish on it, hoping it would come true. Fu Xiaoshui beside him took the lantern lantern and wrote his name too. Fei Yuan blushed. Everyone else is a couple. What are we? Fu Xiaoshui watched the lantern float away and replied, we're just like them. Among the brilliant fireworks, Fu Xiaoshui stood up. A Yuan? Shall we be like a couple too? Fei Yuan remained silent. He offered his hand to Fu Xiaoshui, and they walked to the peach blossom grove holding hands. Fu Xiaoshui cupped Fei Yuan's face, confirming again, a Yuan? Is this really okay? Fei Yuan urged, it's fine, hurry up. Fu Xiaoshui awkwardly kissed him. They only parted when Fei Yuan couldn't breathe. Sorry, I don't know any techniques. This is my first time, Fei Yuan said. Mine too. Fu Xiaoshui held Fei Yuan tightly, his chin gently resting on Fei Yuan's forehead. A Yuan, I'll never let you go in this lifetime. I'll only be good to you. We promised a lifetime, not a second less. Today was Fei Yuan's 18th birthday, becoming a true adult, able to do adult things now. Fei Yuan's shirt was unbuttoned, his neck, collarbone, and shoulders marked with kisses. Fei Yuan lay weakly on the ground. In his increasingly blurry vision of memories, he saw someone throw a cigarette into the car, intensifying the accident. For years later, moans came from inside a red SUV at the Fu mansion. No, I really need to go back. One night isn't enough. Lin Feng looked at Chu Zhao's puppy-like pleading eyes, unable to refuse. He grabbed his collar, keeping it brief. They quickly separated. Finally free, Lin Feng buttoned up. He needed to hurry to take care of Little Boo. Chu Xiao reluctantly let him go, saying they'd meet again at the party later. Lin Feng entered the villa, still as quiet as usual. Little Boo sat, obediently eating bread. Fu Xiaoshui was working on his laptop. In 4 years, Little Boo had grown quickly. Lin Feng could barely carry him now. Fu Xiaoshui commented expressionlessly, Little Boo is only 40 pounds, and you can't carry him? You should take care of your health. Lin Feng didn't bother arguing. He was here to take Little Boo to summer camp. Little Boo jumped from Lin Feng's arms to his father, kissing his cheek. Like a little adult, he advised, I'm going now. Remember to eat well and sleep well? Okay. Fu Xiaoshui rubbed Little Boo's round head, watching him leave. For years ago, in that car accident, Big Brother became vegetative, and Fei Yuan's car exploded, leaving no remains. If not for taking care of Fei Yuan's beloved child, he would have followed Fei Yuan. Lin Feng sent Little Boo to the airport. His secretary reminded him that the internet celebrity genius, Bai Yi, wanted to discuss investment, and time was running out. Turning around, Lin Feng bumped into a man. The man's crutch fell, making him unsteady. Lin Feng quickly helped him up, retrieved his crutch, and apologized. The man removed his glasses to thank him. Lin Feng froze. It was a face identical to Yuan's. The resemblance was uncanny. Bai Yi arrived late and supported the man, asking if his uncle was okay. The man didn't linger. They had business to discuss. Investment talks at Fu Corporation. Surprisingly, Lin Feng met the man again in the office. Bai Yi introduced him to Lin Feng as Wening, a successful author in publishing, writing under the pen name Chen Hai. Bai Yi chattered on. Such a coincidence. Once our investment deal is settled, Teacher Chen Hai will be responsible for your company's promotional video script. Vice President, just wait for the show. Lin Feng had already reviewed the proposal Bai Yi submitted. The investment basically had no issues. Lin Feng's mind was elsewhere. He swiftly signed the proposal and suddenly stood up. Tonight is our company's anniversary celebration. Please come to the party. I'll have my secretary send you the invitations later. The secretary didn't understand Lin Feng's behavior, wondering why he'd invite such a small company. But Lin Feng insisted they must come. This Wening, even if he just seemed similar, someone should try to open second brother's heart. At the Fu Corporation's hotel, a group of people were chattering about gossip, mostly praising Second Master's impressive methods. Wening took in all these words. Some even criticized Fu Xiaoshui, saying such a man should definitely be avoided. Wening unconsciously tightened his grip on his glass. He had desperately cut Fu Xiaoshui's shackles, only to discover he hadn't been doing well all these years. Meanwhile, Chu Xiao was curious if the person Lin Feng mentioned really looked like a Yuan. Lin Feng thought the appearance wasn't similar, just a feeling. Nearby, Bai Yi brought Wening to greet everyone. He introduced that when Ying's novel had been sold, and for the next book, Bai Yi wanted to direct and act in it himself. They both thought this person talked too much. Chu Zhao's gaze wandered over Wening. He did indeed look like a Yuan. He then asked Wening what type of novels he wrote, wanting to chat privately. Seeing Wening with a crutch, Chu Xiao concernedly asked what happened. Wening just said he was injured recently, nothing serious, would recover in a few months. Then he asked Chu Xiao if there were any other questions. Chu Xiao pondered. A Yuan was simple-natured, but this person was hard to figure out. Were they really the same person? Before he could think it through, Chu Xiao was called away by Fu Lingfeng. Fu Lingfeng eagerly wanted to know the results. Chu Xiao thought it better to be cautious. Second brother couldn't handle shock yet, so they shouldn't meet too quickly. But it was too late. Just as Chu Xiao finished speaking, Fu Xiaoshui arrived. Wenning naturally saw him too. He deliberately tripped himself with his crutch, falling straight back into Fu Xiaoshui's arms. Fu Xiaoshui turned to steady Wenning, then bent down to pick up the fallen crutch and handed it back. For a moment, their eyes met. Time seemed to freeze as the person before him overlapped with the figure in his memories. Fu Lingfeng thought Fei Yuan had finally returned, but when Ying's words brought the man back to reality, he wanted his crutch back. Fu Xiaoshui said it wasn't his fault. The floor was just too slippery. Wenning took the crutch and apologized to Fu Lingfeng, wanting to create an opportunity to make amends. Fu Xiaoshui agreed. Wenning leaned in close, telling Fu Xiaoshui they'd meet again if fate allowed. Fu Lingfeng discussed with Chu Xiao about what Fu Xiaoshui might do now that he'd seen Wenning. Chu Xiao wasn't sure. As long as someone's alive, there will always be bonds. In the glass greenhouse on the hotel's top floor, Wenning was chatting with someone, saying he had gotten close to Fu Xiaoshui and almost lost control. But not to worry, he wouldn't act rashly. Wenning remembered his brother telling him to hide Fei Yuan's identity, surely fearing danger would occur again. Fei Yuan looked at the scar on his palm, admitting his brother was right. If his identity was exposed, it would only put Fu Xiaoshui in danger. And now, he was just Wenning. When Wenning was leaving the glass house, he suddenly found Fu Xiaoshui sitting on a swing. Wenning went over to ask this man's name. Fu Xiaoshui told him to stop pretending. Wenning was confused, wondering what he was pretending about. Fu Xiaoshui questioned how he could attend the Fu family banquet and not know who he was. Wenning feigned surprise, pretending not to know he was from the Fu family. Fu Xiaoshui walked over and grabbed Wenying's wrist, stating his name and asserting that Wenying must know who he is. Wenying remarked that he was the legendary figure. Fu Xiaoshui moved closer to Wenying. Wenying became nervous and started introducing himself as a writer. Therefore, he knew about the vice president's achievements, which were important material. Fu Xiaoshui released Wenying, then asked what Wenying wanted to talk about. Wenying sat down beside Fu Xiaoshui, mainly wanting to know about his life experiences. Before sharing his life experiences, Fu Xiaoshui wanted Wenying to be honest. He wanted to know who Wenying really was. Wenying repeated that he was just a writer. He even recommended Fu Xiaoshui to read his novels when free. Fu Xiaoshui was speechless. Seeing it was late, Wenying stood to leave, looking forward to meeting Fu Xiaoshui again. Not paying attention, Wenying tripped over some vines on the ground. Instead of hitting the floor, he fell into a warm embrace. But then, they both fell to the ground. Fu Xiaoshui immediately asked if Wenying was all right. Wenying was fine, just his foot hurt a bit. It turned out to be bleeding. Fu Xiaoshui put Wenying's arm over his shoulder. Wenying was confused about what he was doing. Fu Xiaoshui picked him up princess style. He felt Wenying was a Fu family guest and should be taken care of. He told Wenying not to think too much. Wenying was very obedient, saying he wasn't overthinking, unless that's what the vice president wanted. Wenying deliberately whispered in Fu Xiaoshui's ear to watch his step, warning that if he dropped him, he'd have to take responsibility. Fu Xiaoshui assured him not to worry, he wouldn't let go. In the bedroom, Fu Xiaoshui held Wenying's foot, disinfecting it. He even leaned in to blow on it. Fu Xiaoshui's expression was serious. Wenying's gaze was evasive. The foot was finally bandaged. The assistant and doctor quickly left. Outside, the assistant told the doctor to be perceptive. The doctor certainly was. He noticed Wenying looked exactly like Fei Yuan. This could be Fu Xiaoshui's salvation. The assistant touched the doctor's face, noting he'd become clever. The assistant asked the doctor to accompany him to buy a set of Wenying's books for second master. The doctor started acting cute, saying the assistant needed to buy him lollipops. In the room, Wenying wanted Fu Xiaoshui to share some experiences as compensation for his injury. Fu Xiaoshui agreed, but limited Wenying to 3 questions. If he wanted to ask more, they'd need an equal exchange. For the first question, Wenying asked if Fu Xiaoshui had a partner. Fu Xiaoshui shook his head. Wenying was curious again, asking if he had anyone he was dating. Fu Xiaoshui shook his head again. Only one question left. When was your last relationship? Fu Xiaoshui said it was 4 years ago. Wenying feigned confusion, wondering how such an excellent person could be single. Fu Xiaoshui didn't hide that he had a lover, just that they weren't together now. But someday they would meet again. Wen Ying's heart raced again. Fu Xiaoshui turned the tables, saying Wen Ying had already asked 5 questions. Now it was his turn. Wen Ying protested, saying it wasn't 5, just 3. Fu Xiaoshui teased him, counting, "How could you be single? And are you playing with me?" These 2 also counted as questions. Plus, where did you get 5? Made it 6 questions total. Seeing Wen Ying silent, Fu Xiaoshui thought he was angry. Wen Ying urged Fu Xiaoshui to ask his questions quickly. Fu Xiaoshui wanted to know how long Wen Ying had been writing novels. Wen Ying answered 3 years. Then about the novels, what type were they? They were mystery novels. Fu Xiaoshui noticed Wen Ying was still angry. Wen Ying proudly refused to admit it. Fu Xiaoshui kept asking, if not angry, why wouldn't he look at him? Wen Ying protested, asking why he should look at him. Fu Xiaoshui looked at Wen Ying seriously and said, looking at people while talking is basic etiquette. This is what I once taught you. A yuan. Wen Ying accidentally exposed himself, then pretended innocence, asking who a yuan was. Fu Xiaoshui stood up and slammed the table. Taking an authoritative stance, he scolded Wen Ying, a stranger, for being too concerned about his love life, wondering if he was trying to take advantage. Wen Ying's heart raced, nervously guessing Fu Xiaoshui must be drunk. Fu Xiaoshui held Wen Ying's chin, saying he was very clear-headed. All Wen Ying could say was asking Fu Xiaoshui to show restraint. Fu Xiaoshui realized he'd overreacted and released Wen Ying. It was just because Wen Ying looked like someone he knew, so he accidentally showed too much concern. Before leaving, he emphasized again that though he had no partner, he had someone in his heart. Wen Ying's expression froze. Sitting on the bed, Wen Ying received a friend request. It was from Fu Xiaoshui. Wen Ying's mind was confused, wondering who Fu Xiaoshui's love interest was. He had promised his brother to just come back for a look and sworn not to reveal his identity. But Wen Ying really missed Fu Xiaoshui's embrace. Thinking about it, he fell asleep. In his dreams were intimate scenes with Fu Xiaoshui. When he opened his eyes, daylight had come, and Wen Ying woke with a start, calling Fu Xiaoshui's name. After dreaming all night, he was exhausted. Wen Ying decided to go out for a walk. Outside the greenhouse, an old man was digging up fresh flowers. The old man smiled, saying he was just following the boss's orders. This was actually Fu Xiaoshui's instruction. Wen Ying took out his phone, looked at the friend request message, and seemed to make some kind of decision. He sent a request not to remove the flowers. Fu Xiaoshui didn't answer directly, instead asking if Wen Ying had slept well. Wen Ying didn't understand what this meant. Then the phone rang. Wen Ying answered instinctively. Fu Xiaoshui was still concerned about whether he had slept well. Thinking of last night's dream, Wen Ying hung up without hesitation. Just answering a phone call made him this nervous. When he turned around, he bumped right into Fu Xiaoshui's arms. Wen Ying adjusted his glasses and quickly apologized. Fu Xiaoshui wanted to know why he hung up on him. Wen Ying lied with wide eyes, saying it was just a slip of the hand. Fu Xiaoshui changed his tone, asking if Mr. Wen treated all investors this way. Wasn't he afraid of losing resources? Wen Ying's mouth gaped in shock. What did Fu Xiaoshui mean? Had he already signed a contract with him? Fu Xiaoshui deliberately teased him, saying there were problems with the contract and he had withheld it. Wen Ying became anxious immediately. How could this be? Fu Xiaoshui, being a businessman, wanted to understand if his investment target was worth the money. Wen Ying almost shouted, asking what else Mr. Fu wanted to know. Fu Xiaoshui requested Wen Ying move in with him to understand his creative process. Wen Ying politely declined, asking if he wasn't worried about making his love interest jealous. Fu Xiaoshui moved closer, almost cornering him, his tone full of persuasion. How did Wen Ying know his love interest would be jealous of men? Wen Ying didn't know how to answer. Fortunately, Fu Xiaoshui didn't press further. Since he was unwilling to come, he wouldn't force him. He was about to turn and leave. Wen Ying hesitated, then grabbed Fu Xiaoshui's arm, then nervously let go. This investment was very important to him. He could go to Fu Xiaoshui's house. Wen Ying stood on tiptoes, whispering in Fu Xiaoshui's ear that he could get to know him slowly. But Fu Xiaoshui brushed away Wen Ying's hand that was holding his. Wen Ying felt mixed emotions. In the mansion, Fu Xiaoshui wanted to show Wen Ying his prepared room. This elegantly decorated room was for Wen Ying. Fu Xiaoshui's room was next door. Wenning asked if every room in the house was decorated so extravagantly. Fu Xiaoshui denied it. This room was originally decorated to please a certain young person who was used to negotiations. Wenning instinctively wanted to say he wasn't a child, but Fu Xiaoshui interrupted, saying he had work to handle. They would have lunch together, and Wenning should rest well. Wenning touched the piano by the floor-to-ceiling window, realizing that as Wenning now, these were prepared for a yuan. At lunchtime, Fu Xiaoshui didn't appear. Wasn't he supposed to come back for lunch? The housekeeper relayed that Fu Xiaoshui said he'd be back later and Wenning should eat first. Wenning instantly lost his appetite. He wanted to wait, but decided to return to his room first. Back in the room, Wenning was still disappointed. They had clearly agreed to have lunch together. Wenning boldly messaged Fu Xiaoshui, just wanting to know when he'd return. 10 minutes passed without reply. Wenning became anxious and sent another message. Another 10 minutes passed, still no reply from Fu Xiaoshui. Wenning was really getting angry and decided to call directly this time, to see how Fu Xiaoshui would explain. After the call connected, Wenning finally smiled, but it was Fu Xiaoshui's assistant who answered. The assistant told Wenning that the VP was busy and asked if they could help relay any message. Fu Xiaoshui next appeared by Wen Ying's bedside when he was already asleep. Fu Xiaoshui removed his glasses, then couldn't resist kissing him. During their passionate embrace, Wen Ying's consciousness briefly cleared, but he thought it was a dream. Since it was a dream, he decided to indulge in it. When Wenning woke up, he saw 2 housekeepers by his side, saying they were there for whatever he needed. Wenning told the 2 housekeepers they didn't need to watch over him. He would go back soon. Looking around, there was still no sign of Fu Xiaoshui. It must have been a dream after all. Lively sounds came from the 2nd floor of the villa. Wenning guessed Fu Linfeng had returned. Upon closer inspection, everyone was saying a yuan had returned. Wenning saw the person called a yuan. Indeed, he looked exactly like his former self. What was going on?